To order, and we'll start off with the Pledge of Allegiance. If I can do this.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I see on the recommendations, because I've been out for a while, the minutes have been read and reviewed. I thought I did, didn't I?
I approved the minutes for 5/24/17.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that's unanimous. First order of business is a small project, NACC 192, 141 Berry Street.
So, you've seen this site before. This is one of Mr. Hingarani's lots on Berry Street there. There's that big stone wall in the back demarcating the wetland. There's a shed already on the property, and the applicant would like to put a wood deck with a pergola over. Not sure if the applicant's here. I know Kale went out and
We already
reviewed the site.
We already approved the shed, right?
Right, yep. So now it's the pergola on the decking with a fire pit is the proposal. You can see it all here. Everything's outside the 50, so it qualifies as a small project. F for the patio and L for the other items.
Okay. Joe?
No questions.
Al?
No questions.
Deb? No questions. Yeah. Motion?
I move that we consider the work before us to be as a small project pursuant to letters F and L of the bylaw.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that's unanimous.
And accordingly, I move that we approve the small project as presented.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? And that's unanimous. Whoever's here, that's all set. Thank you. NACC 193, 351 Holt Road.
All right. For anyone who's been in, I don't know why my little, this keeps coming up and I can't make it larger, but, sorry. Oh, there we go. So this is a minor paving project. That's why I threw it into the small project category. I think if the whole project had fallen into jurisdiction, it would have need to have been an RDA. But since it's literally just a driveway on the site, this is the Solo Cup facility down at the end of Holt Road. There is riverfront on the property, although this section of the property doesn't fall in it, and it's literally just grind and repave. There's a much bigger paving project that you can see, but all of that is outside of the buffer zone. It's outside of the floodplain. So it's really just the small paving project that you see in jurisdiction right there.
Joe?
I think they sent me a
Are they
nice.
looking at, are they pulverizing it, reclaiming, or just grinding the top surface off?
I think it's
The reason
it's
why I ask
just
is,
grinding, right?
just grinding? Oh, yeah, beautiful. So just grinding the top layer off? Okay, beautiful. I'm all set. So in and out one day.
Yeah, just one piece is good.
This is
It's an industrial driveway.
it's an industrial.
They do micro grinding now, so they can take half an inch off if they want.
The erosion control is proposed. It's really quite a
Yeah, I'm all set.
minimal.
Al?
No questions.
Deb?
No questions.
Doug? Motion?
I move that we consider the project a small project under the letter L.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? And that's unanimous.
And then
I move that we approve the small project requiring silt sock as proposed. And are there any other recommendations, Jen, that
Just
you
pre
want?
and post.
And a pre-inspection, post-inspection.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? That's unanimous.
Just, not so much reconsideration, just on further discussion. Are there any catch basins in this paved area that we need to protect, that would discharge?
I don't believe so in that area.
I
So
don't-
if they do, just flag them out during the pre-construction, and they just need to
I
have,
think we already looked at that, and there
Okay.
weren't any.
okay, good.
All set, thank you. NACC 194, 120 Thistle Road.
So this would not have been a project in front of you. It's a pool, and the pool is to be located outside of the 100... Wait, which one are we on? Oh, this is Thistle. I'm sorry, this is the patio. There's another project on the agenda. It's enclosure of a deck. So actually, no ground disturbance, but you've never considered enclosing a deck to be a activity that you didn't want to review, since enclosing the deck usually results in further decks or those sorts of things somewhere down the line. They aren't making this a three-season room or anything like that. There's no new support, so it'll just be enclosure with a roof and screen. So basically making the deck that's pervious somewhat impervious.
Joe?
And they'll be putting the drainage into the existing infiltrator.
That was my question. No questions.
I think that was the same question we were all thinking. More second.
Seven.
Doug? Motion?
Indeed. I move that we consider this to be a small project under the letter L.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that's unanimous.
I move that we approve the small project with
With post-construction.
post-construction inspection. Anything else besides post?
Only that if you want wetland markers at the tree line,
What's your, whatever you...
there aren't, this development never had wetland markers required, so,
Post is fine. Just
Just
with a
post?
post-inspection.
okay.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that's unanimous. 190, NACC,
All good,
NACC 196, 224 Foster Street.
Oh, nope.
Peachtree.
125 Peachtree.
Oh, I'm sorry, I missed it.
This was the one I had already moved on to.
This is, yeah,
NACC 195, 125 Peach Street.
right.
Where am I? Oh, here we go. This was the one. The pool, as you can see, which is being constructed, is outside of jurisdiction. But upon visiting the site, we realized that was no way they were going to be able to construct the pool without coming right on through the buffer zone. So the wetland is roughly maybe 50 feet into the woods at that location. But they're going to install erosion control. It will get dug up during construction, just by the machinery they're going to have to bring back there. The only
Really,
thing,
it's temporary access with erosion controls because of that,
right,
right?
and I think I had put some conditions about not stockpiling in that area, and there is quite a major brush dump within the treed area that needs to be cleaned up. Right next to the wetland.
Was it just grass?
It appears to be
Whoever's
a
mowing
couple
the...
of years' worth of grass back there.
You, when you're getting small project requests, are you looking at permitting history or violation history and lots?
Yep.
If this is the last house on the right, I'm not sure if this is the one that had a violation or there was another one.
There's been a couple on the hill on the right who had, one of them had a patio or something like that.
But not this one?
Not this
Not
one,
this
nope.
one,
There's
okay.
nothing out there on this
Okay.
site that has ever been a
Other
problem.
than the grass clippings, which,
Incidental.
no history.
Right, I mean, we always go, we check the wetland line, we check the, just do a general review of the site.
I'm all set.
So my question, Jen, is of you, actually. I'm looking at the photo of the grass stump. I mean, people mow their lawn and pile it up. Is there any way we could educate them into converting this into a compost pile somewhere where it would be acceptable to us?
Yeah, I had mentioned that they, it can be stored within the existing yard. This is, kind of a path into the woods, down to the wet area, and it's dumped there, so.
Gotcha.
The
All right, so,
likelihood of that happening with a pool being installed is going to be even more remote.
okay, well, let's see if we can
Less
make
grass.
a motion that makes sense. I'm good for right now, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Jen, you have a proposed vehicle access, but there's nothing on the plan for stockpile. They're gonna truck it out as they dig it?
I think that's what they told me. No stockpiling is proposed and should be restricted in the 100-foot buffer zone. So when I talked to the contractor, that's what he indicated, but regardless, there's always going to be
He's
piles
not
of
going to want to handle
material.
it twice. He's going to want to just dig it and load it and
Right.
haul it.
Yeah,
But if there's
because-
some backfill material or whatever that they keep, it should be outside the 100-foot buffer zone.
Yeah, because, when he's digging it, he's gonna have he's gonna squeeze out his construction access. So he's gotta be careful. So I don't know if we can condition that. or-
They have room up next to the deck if they needed to stockpile, but I think we just condition no stockpiling in the 100. And then the rest is up to them.
Okay. Yeah, it's gonna be tight. All right, Deb?
Okay, and wetland markers probably should be added.
Right at the tree line, just to prevent future dumping.
Doug? Motion?
All right, we'll take the easy part first. I move that we consider this to be a small project under the letter L.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that's unanimous.
Okay, now secondly, I will move that we approve the small project with the following conditions. That a pre- and post-construction inspection takes place, erosion controls are installed at the direction of the administrator, wetland markers are installed at the direction of the administrator. There is no stockpiling of any kind of soils on the property during this construction site. And that the
Well,
homeowner...
within the 100. I
Within-
don't care if they stockpile
With-
outside.
Within the 100, I amended to within 100. Regards to the grass clipping area, I move that as part of my motion, we give the homeowner the option to convert it into a compost pile as directed by you, or remove it. And it's up to them, one or the
Well, we
other.
don't want a compost pile in that location.
It's
so-
not even his property, is it?
Yeah, it might, no, I think it's still on their property. There's a retaining, the property boundary is actually a field stone wall in the woods. Are you the? Yeah, so
They
there's,
already started removing it, so.
Great.
it should be-
Okay, I was just going to,
but if they, I mean, if
I
you
was
want
going
to
to give them an
keep
option
it,
if they want to have
what
compost.
Mr. Manzi's saying is you could have some kind of like little fenced-in area within your yard or at the edge of your yard, but just not down in that wetland area.
Just to give you an option if you wanted it. Okay,
Okay.
that's the motion.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that's unanimous. Well said.
So I'll issue that, sign off on the building permit, and your contractor will be good to go.
Next one is RDA 1101.
Nope, now we gotta go back to, you already called them, but we didn't, 224 Foster Street.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm a little rusty.
Yeah, I know. You got ahead of yourself.
Yeah. NACC 196, 224 Foster Street.
196.
So I have a better, this is an aerial plan showing the driveway. It just kind of highlights the resource areas and the,
I remember this.
So what is this?
so this is, Al, you probably can't hear this.
I'll have to abstain from it. I can listen as an abutter, I just won't vote.
Correct.
So if you just let the record reflect that, I will not vote on this part.
Okay. So the black portion that you see is just going to be an overlay. It's very close to resource area, and erosion controls will be installed along the edge of the driveway, but they really didn't want to get into the RDA scenario. So not until they head up the hill on the driveway, which gets out of the 100-foot buffer zone and is only outer riverfront, do they propose to grind and repave.
Over there, yeah.
all work would be exempt under the Wetlands Protection Act for repair of an existing driveway. Servicing less than 2 lots, or 2 structures, which there appear to be on this property. I did notice that the exemption does require them to do the work within 14 days, so that should be something they note
14 days from the commencement of
of
operations?
work. Yeah. Learn something new every time you read the regs.
So,
No questions?
no questions.
No questions.
Doug? Motion? Motion?
Not for me.
Oh, that's right, he can't.
I'm out of this.
What I'm looking for is the type. Is it a small project, or is it,
Yep, it is. I forget what they filed it under. It's probably, no.
is it a K? Is it just a general
Hold on, I got it right here. It's an L.
L? So my first order of business, I move that we consider the project as a type L small project.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Abstained.
One abstention.
And on the second motion, I move that we approve the project for NACC number 196 to allow the project to move forward, that a 12-inch silt sock be installed as proposed, that there is, do you want to, yeah, in a pre and post construction, in the final location of the silt sock, you want that in place at your pre-inspection?
Correct.
Okay. So you're approving the location as proposed?
Yep.
Okay. That's it.
And
I
no
don't need
stock,
to-
no stockpiling.
And no
I don't-
stockpiling. But the 14-day exemption, that's inherent to the
Right.
regs, so I don't need to move that.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's unanimous.
No, abstention.
One abstention.
One.
excuse me.
Got it.
All right, next thing on the agenda is an RDA 1101 Turnpike Street. You doing this, Sean? You're gonna pulverize it?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah?
Thank you.
I don't have it electronically here. Okay, you can get started. Did you send it to me electronically?
It's been a couple weeks. I thought either I or Tracy had, but if we haven't.
That's okay, as long as you have the board, then they should be all set.
Yeah, I forgot to bring a stand, so I'm gonna hold it here. Let me know if you guys can get it closer to it. For the record, my name is Hannah Raditz from Conoco Engineers and Scientists. And as the commission pleases, I'll start with a description of the project. It's all right? So this project is on behalf of Massachusetts Electric Company. The purpose of this project is to repave and restripe an existing main parking lot, which is this one up here, and a storage area, which is this one down here. And also, there will be replacement of curbing along here, here, and that's it. And also of sidewalk, which is from the main lot down towards the maintenance building, which is here. Minimal excavation will be required, and the only thing that will require excavation will be the sidewalk along here. All the rest of the repaving will just not require any excavation within this lot, the side lot, or the storage lot down at the bottom. There will be no further increase in impervious surface for this site. Portions of the proposed work are within the 100-foot buffer zone to BBW and the 200-foot riverfront area with these areas around here. See the buffer zone and also up there on the screen. All impacts will be temporary and the proposed work area will be returned to its pre-existing conditions. Proposed erosion controls will consist of straw wattles secured by wooden stakes. That's these orange lines you can see here, on this side. Oh, and I forgot to point out berm replacement up here. This is outside of any jurisdiction, but we included it, and there's berm replacement down there, so it's within. And that is the conclusion of the summary. Do you all have any questions at this point? Sorry, it was a little jumbled.
That's okay. Joe?
So we say repaving, so you're going to pave over the existing pavement with no sort of reclamation or grinding involved? Do you know? They don't seem to designate what form they're going to use.
I don't believe that I have information on that. There are some holes down here, so they may need to do some sort of fixes to allow them to repave over that. I'm not sure if they just want to fill those holes in.
And the proposed work, they're gonna replace. They're gonna take some
Reclaiming
away.
and just an overlay is two different things.
In the project description, proposed work description 2.0, it says the existing bituminous concrete will be replaced along the southern side of the access driveway. So I'm assuming to replace it, they've got to do a removal. I'm just guessing from the description.
You know, if they were just doing an overlay, they wouldn't be proposing any erosion controls at all, so I would agree with you.
Yeah, I think it's full
I think they're gonna do-
replacement. yeah.
I think it's got to be a replacement. That's what their description set uses that term, so.
Okay, so I guess the follow-up question to that is, are there catch basins in these various paved areas now that need to be protected?
There's no catch basins in the lower lot downstairs.
There are catch basins, and at the maintenance building, because they protected them when they did the drain line project. So I think it's proposed in here that they would protect, we can just require silt sacks.
Just require it, as necessary, okay. So with the curbing and berm areas, you're not going to be adding any new curbing of berm. You're just going to be replacing what's already there. So we're not channelizing or redirecting water where it never used to go. No, not creating any point sources.
Nothing will be any bigger as well. The sidewalk won't be expanded, just repaired, as well as the berms, just repaired, expanded.
I'm all set.
Yeah, almost it.
I'm all set. Doug? Motion?
What are we looking for? What are you looking for, Jen, for this?
Sydney?
It would be a negative number 2 for work in riverfront and 3 for work in the buffer zone.
You looking for
Just
erosion
erosion
controls?
control pre and post with silt sacks.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's unanimous.
Who seconded?
Yeah.
All set?
You're all set.
Thank you very much.
Next one is 60 Gannett Road.
Thank you. I have a nice photo of the backyard, too. Anybody remember that one from when you permitted it?
No, I don't remember.
Yeah,
It's the end of, sort of the end of Deer Meadow.
I'd love to tell you I remember it, but I really don't. Nice picture, though. What are those weeds? The ones that extend out and take the trees over?
Bittersweet.
Sweet something?
Bittersweet.
Yeah, that's,
It's like the house on a cliff.
Or my grandson calls it kilovine.
Kilovine, that's what we always called it, too. Choke vines.
Tough to kill, too.
It's tough to kill.
Good, good.
All set?
Oh, I see.
Good evening, Greg Hochmuth from Williams and Sparagus, here presenting the applicant for 60 Deer Meadow Road. We were brought onto this job, another engineering firm had started doing some soil testing for the purpose of a septic system upgrade. The existing system did not pass a Title V. The prior engineering firm stopped returning phone calls, and we got the call and went out and looked, and I understand why they stopped returning phone calls. It's a very challenging site. The area where the septic system would more than likely go is about 35 feet below the existing house. So just to get a machine down there to do the soil testing was a challenge. And the prior company used a mini excavator, and they couldn't get deep enough below the fill that was brought in on the low portion to create a flat yard. So originally we filed this RDA thinking that we'd do a temporary construction access off the existing driveway and somehow get down to the bottom of the hill with a larger machine that's able to dig a little deeper than the typical mini excavator. And also, there's a lot line, well, there's a stone wall, it's an interior stone wall that I think the owners and the prior company had thought was the rear lot line. There's some room to test beyond that stone wall. It's all within your jurisdiction, but it wasn't explored. So we want to get back down there and have the ability to not only dig where they did, a little deeper, but go back beyond that wall onto the wooded hill, which is all within 100 feet of the wetlands. So obviously, whatever is ultimately proposed here will come back with a notice of intent, but just to get the soil evaluation done, we filed this RDA. And in talking with the contractor today, we're considering using a crane to lower another mini excavator to the bottom of the hill, dig a hole about 4 feet deep that the machine can crawl down into to get 4 feet deeper than they could before. And I think that will be all we need to get the depth. So that's the latest. So I think the temporary construction access path that we're asking for permission tonight for will more than likely not even be needed. I put in the RDA application that no mature trees would need to be removed. That's true. We can meander through the woods and minimize the damage. I do think we'll probably run over some small shrubs. Following the soil testing effort, we can clean up the area best we can and either throw some leaves back over those areas that are wooded or throw down some seed and break up a couple salt bales. But not an ideal situation. We're just hoping we can find some soil back there, because obviously Plan B is probably a tight tank, which would be awful for the homeowners.
Okay. Joe?
I can hardly wait till the NOI comes in.
Yeah.
I know.
I have no questions otherwise.
And I'm going to be doing the soil testing, so I'll be out there. I was out there with Jen last week. We took a look at the resource area boundaries. There is some room. There's not much room. So we have a very limited
That whole,
target area.
that relatively flat plateau area, you said that that's on fill as well?
Yeah, it's about 8 feet of fill.
So even when you go to the point of designing something, there's going to be a lot of land disturbance to deal with that.
Yep, and a lot of Title V sand.
Yeah. Like I said, we'll see that in the NOI.
Yep.
Yeah, if ever there was a case for bringing in the sewer, huh?
Mm.
I feel bad for him. I have no questions.
All I got to say is I'm glad I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
The land is within bordering, quote-unquote, bordering land subject to flooding, but they provided lomas for other sites in the area, and it's clear this area is not.
Yeah, it's shown as a Zone A, which almost hits the house,
Right.
which is
Which, as you
clearly
can
out
see-
to lunch. But because it's not an AE, we couldn't tie into an elevation. But we did some research, and there was some houses on Foster right on the other side of this wetland, and the wetland's fairly flat, that did do a flood study and established a flood elevation of 123. So we show we're on NAVD 88 on this plan, and all of the work will be above elevation 123.
Deb? Doug? Motion?
I move that we issue a -3 with conditions for erosion control and pre- and post inspections.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's unanimous.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Good luck.
Have a good night.
Next one is notice of intent. No, excuse me. Is it? Lost my spot here.
Looks, should
No,
be,
next one,
should be an ANRAD.
An ANRAD, 242-1704, request to continue to 7/26.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Are they making any headway out there?
They're just waiting for a plan from the engineer, which you can just
Surprise.
look at the information provided on the agenda.
We have one on notice of intent, 242-1711, 42 Flosser Street, request to continue to July 26th.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that's unanimous. First one is 242-1710, 0 Main Street, Department of Public Works, North Main Street.
So this had no DEP comments, correct?
No comments.
Right,
We got a
but,
no comment.
right, not under review, though, no comments,
It
right?
said, yeah, the comment was no comment.
Right, interesting.
Yeah.
Of all projects, not to get any comments. But we did have pretty substantial discussions with DEP and Coastal Zone Management, who helped us determine that even though the Merrimack River is tidal here, it does not necessarily make this coastal bank. So performance standards are still for inland bank. Just to clarify that before we start. And you haven't heard from Natural Heritage, correct? Okay.
No.
Good, Jack.
Okay, great. For the record, my name's Jack Sullivan. I'm owner of the Sullivan Engineering Group, and I'm here with Chief McCarthy as well. And what we're proposing to do is, presently there's a boulder slope that provides emergency access to the Merrimack River for the fire department to hand carry a boat into the Merrimack River in case of an emergency situation. The footing's unstable. The chief has some pictures just taken this week that shows the growth that takes place between the boulders, makes it tough to access this area. In addition, Lawrence uses this as an access point as well into the river. So they were looking to come up with some sort of design that would provide better footing, better access to the river. There is some erosion that takes place in this area as well. So when DEP contacted me to come up with a design, at first I looked at putting in an actual concrete style ramp, but that was a big no-no. DEP, I talked to Jennifer, Coastal Management, they don't want to see you armor the bank. They want something that allows water to move through it. So what we came up with is there's this HDPE, it's called a Tough Track gravel paver. It can support H20 loading, though this is not intended for vehicle access. If there ever was the need for the fire department to get onto this with a vehicle, they could, but it's not intended to, for that purpose. But it's basically, what we'd be looking to do is excavate out the existing boulders, and you excavate it down about 6 inches in depth. They come in with crushed stone for 4 inches, and then these Tough Track systems are 2x2 grids that are 1.5 inches deep, and you can either put like a pea stone or crushed stone inside of them, or you could loam and seed them. I'm proposing to put like a pea stone in that would get compacted. They get staked into place at the center of the 2x2 grids to provide stability. On one side of this ramp, there'll be a 1-to-1 slope of either the boulders or the riprap to lock it into place. On the easterly side of the ramp, there'd be a landscape retaining wall less than 4 feet in height. There'll be no trees cut as part of this project. We're above the mean annual high water of the Merrimack River. We are within the 100-year floodplain to the river, but we will not be filling any of the floodplain. We're actually trying to reduce the slope. Right now, I'm proposing, it's still going to be a steep slope. It's going to be 23%. It's over 35% right now. We did provide pictures to the commission, but my pictures were taken in December or January when you couldn't really see the vegetation. Chief McCarthy has some on his phone tonight that show it's filling in. It would be hard to even carry a boat into the water at this stage. As Jennifer stated, I talked to Pam Merrill at DEP. I spoke to Coastal Management. I did call Natural Heritage because there is estimated habitat for endangered species. I was trying to get a letter from them for tonight's meeting, but I didn't get any response.
They didn't call you for more I mean, the species is bald eagle, so they usually concerned with tree removal, but there are no trees there. You don't propose any tree removal?
No tree removal.
Just a question on the wall. You're not, that doesn't raise the elevation of that area any?
No, because we're cutting that area, so the wall will be, at the top of the wall will be at the existing site grade. We're just making it a better cut into the slope in that area, so we're not raising or filling floodplain in that area. Also, for some control, we show some bollards to be placed that the chief will have a chain across. This is only for public safety. This isn't going to be a public ramp of any sort, and we show some signage to be placed as well.
Okay. Joe?
As fate would have it, I actually saw it Tough Track Saturday
You did?
at the Sandwich New Harbor Masters headquarters. They were using it all for pathways, though, and not the boat ramp itself, but it was beautiful stuff, really good. What I did notice, though, they had a gully washing rainstorm Friday afternoon down there. Everybody in New England had one. The smaller stones washed out of the track, so I'm thinking a 23% pea stone. You better look at, and I'm sure you will, but look at something with a little more oomph to the size.
Right.
We're looking like 3/4 inch stone
Yeah.
to stay in there, but it's good stuff. I'm just thinking the slope and any water that does come down, the pea stone's gonna over time, it's just gonna erode out little by little. I mean, from conservation perspective, it looks like it's a good proposal. I think we've seen others in the past over the years, and this is similar location. And the approach to it is good, so I'm all set.
Just one question, no problem with the project at all. Does the product that you're proposing, does the company offer or have any type of a maintenance or a BMP that goes with it?
I'll check on that. I don't know.
That's the only question I would have. Other than that, I'm all set.
Chuck, does the stuff in between the blocks have to be pervious?
Yes.
Yeah, because pea stone,
I think I'll go with a larger, like Joe stated, and Jennifer had the same concern with the pea stone, not only washing out, but we are in a floodplain, so you get some scouring, so I think I will spec a larger stone. I'm going to actually call this company, see what they might recommend for this type of
They
application.
might have a BMP that you can use.
That's what I'm hoping.
Yeah, me too.
How deep are the cells?
They're only 1.5 inches.
Yeah, nothing's gonna fit in there larger, though.
Even 3/4 stone, you're not going to stay tight.
That's why for the use, I've only seen them as like pervious, like driveways or parking areas or that sort of thing.
And pretty
with
flat
the
areas.
with the velocity of the Merrimack and the up and down of the river, it's almost like you want to sort of compact something in there.
yeah, but it has to be.
There are other
It has
products
to
out
be
there.
perfect.
There are other
pervious.
products.
Yeah,
I
the
did.
MACC conference this year, there was one that was
They have the ones
more
that are
substantial.
more like diamond-celled ones.
They're expandable, like accordion that open up, and they're much deeper cell, and that was it E.J. Prescott's table. I'll tell you where to go, but
Yeah.
there are bigger ones out there, deeper
Yeah.
and bigger matrix.
Yeah,
I don't know if they're going to give the H20 load,
right.
Because
but I think they did.
Well, the ones I've seen, and I can find I just sent this back to somebody else because they park fire trucks on them. I mean, that's their, like, the photo in their advertising has a fire truck parked on it.
That's the photo from my plan too. They show fire trucks. So what they do with the fire trucks is they'll put topsoil down, and then they hydroseed it, and then they just mow it, and you can dry. So it looks
get it
like
straight
grass, but
underneath it.
yeah, but
Yeah.
you still have the stability. If for emergency access around a building, let's say, but you don't have to go with pavement. So that's an option too. We could do soil with grass and that might stabilize
You
it.
better make sure you get your grass grown in before the water comes up.
Right.
How deep were they staked?
They're staked too, well, that's a good, I got it right here. I'll have to get that information to you, Jennifer. I know right in the center of the 2x2 grid, there's a stake placed. I don't know the depth of that stake, though.
Okay. Again, I'm thinking you want something that's going to prevent this thing from being lifted up.
Okay. Deb? No questions. Doug?
No questions.
Okay, motion?
We need to continue for natural heritage, and it sounds like you can maybe check out a couple other suppliers or maybe come up with the new material for the interior.
Right. That's
2 weeks
what I'll
going to
do.
be enough for that?
Yes, that'll be enough.
So you
What
want
is
to,
your proposed schedule for them to do this?
The chief wants to get it going probably
I looked at the chief.
this fall. Yeah. He's here. Do
I've
you
been
want?
on duty when it's been that way. It's not a ramp, we call it the boat ramp.
Right.
It's an embankment.
It's just your
Yeah.
access point.
And actually, to see it now, you don't even know it's there. It's, I sent Jen some photos.
Yeah, Jack sent me,
I just sent you some.
oh, you just sent them now?
Yeah, just that we'd like to see, I'm glad we'll continue because of natural heritage, because I'd like to see more substantial subgrade. The subgrade is what?
It is 4 inches of crushed stone underneath.
And that's a
then
good photo right
the
there.
1.5 inch cell. So
Yeah.
in total, you'd have 6 inches.
6 inches.
But I'll look to see if they have a deeper, something that could accommodate the stone more without it washing away.
So that existing stone, that actually previous picture,
Yeah,
Jen?
What's that?
Could you go to the
Previous one?
Previous picture?
that was from December.
So that existing stone that's coming down, what was its purpose? Was that part of the sanitary districts? Is it protecting something that they have in there?
I don't know the history on it.
'Cause I know you come down to the level area, that's
Yeah.
where
Yeah, I mean,
the truck
Right.
can't
truck
talk.
lines come through.
Right.
That's all fortified.
All right, you can text
downward.
me if
Yeah.
it's something
But I
important.
don't know what that slope is.
I don't know what the purpose was. I'm not sure.
I believe years ago, that might have been done to assist us.
to give you a base?
Yeah, because this is the only place that this exists. It
Yeah.
it isn't like the whole
Yeah,
embankment's
it was
armored.
probably put there to give
So
it
it's not
access.
part of, it's nothing part of the sanitary district's infrastructure?
The rest, I mean, there is stone along the sewer line, but if you recall, as you head west, it's much lower. I mean, the bank, the difference between water and the sewer line is like this. In this area, it's substantial, so.
So what are you proposing? Are you proposing to take those out?
Yes. What was that other project you mentioned, Joe, that might be deeper? Did you say E.J. Prescott might have something?
Yeah, about the-
I'll find it.
Yeah.
There are products out there at the MACC conference.
They were-
A
they
lot of
had-
vendors have tables.
I'll talk to
And
Jennifer on
someone
it.
had a catalog of these types of things, and they were bigger. It was a
Okay.
bigger matrix.
Okay.
They had.
Yeah, if I could find that, then I could use larger stone, like 3/4 inch or
Keep losing
something
my
larger.
connection here.
Something that won't end up in Newburyport.
Great.
Okay, we need a motion to continue.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's unanimous.
Okay,
2 weeks.
yep, 2 weeks.
I don't know, were there any abutters on this one? I don't know what people are here for, so,
No, we're not building a parking lot like the last time.
okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, chief.
You're popular tonight.
Yeah,
I did, I didn't want you to kick me.
Okay.
he's fighting with it.
Okay, where was it? Next one is 242-17060 Ray Street, 224 French Farm.
So surprisingly, this one didn't get DEP comments. It's still under review, but we did get the natural heritage letter.
Right. I think, actually, I checked it the other day and I thought it said no comment.
I thought it did too, but then I looked at it today and it said under review.
Oh, they changed.
Because I thought it would be the project that was just before you that would be under review.
Huh.
Maybe I got it confused. Maybe this one was under review. One of them was.
Yeah, I think their website seems to have been acting kind of weird lately.
Yeah,
'Cause
one
it
day
was-
you couldn't even get North Andover
Yeah, it
comment.
was weird, but I checked it yesterday and I thought it said no comment.
No comment,
We don't,
okay.
yeah, we don't have it.
Yeah, we
But
don't have
yeah.
anything on this, Jim.
Yeah, because you reviewed this at the last meeting, but we were kind of waiting for natural heritage, I think,
Okay.
at that point. So, we had the delineation. I did ask Epsilon to clarify the square footage of temporary alteration in bordering land subject to flooding, because I do think that should be on the form. This isn't a buffer zone only project, so
Right.
outside of that, I don't think there's any changes.
Okay, yeah. And I have the Natural Heritage, a copy of their letter too, but they just basically said they don't think it will adversely affect the estimated habitat, and that it shouldn't result in a prohibited take of rare species.
And, I
But-
know the other issue at the last meeting was the project is on an abutter's property, within the easement, mind you, but they
Right.
were, you just sort all that out.
We did, yeah. I talked to Mike about it, and he basically was of the opinion that since they were at the hearing, and I talked to them during and then after it too, and they seemed fine with it.
Okay.
I think their main concern was just they didn't want like an open trench, of course, in their backyard to have kids playing, but we just clarified that it won't be left open while they're not working on it. So
And given that the water table's so high, been so high, your proposal is to do a dewatering, hay bale, stone,
right,
whatever, on the up gradient side of the access, and then just let the water filter back into the.
right. And we had, if there is dewatering, which there probably will be,
Yes, there will.
because what was that?
Yes, there will.
There will definitely be dewatering, and this would be either by pumping the water into a sediment filter bag or a settling basin.
The filter bag wouldn't be enough
filter
in this
bag.
particular location.
Okay. So they would probably use a settling basin and then surround it with erosion controls. And they would place it in an upland area on the site outside of the buffer zone. I think, yeah, straw bales and silt fence.
There isn't going to be much room outside of the buffer zone, I don't think, because it's on a slope, so they're not going to, I think the settling basin, as long as it's away from the trench in some kind of level area. But definitely not, this is water supply, and what comes out of that hole is never going to be clean
Right.
at 20 feet, right? And most likely going to be fines, I would guess, clays,
It's all clay.
silts.
Yeah.
It's all clay.
Right, so I think we definitely want the regular basin, filter fabric, stone scenario.
How wide is the easement? How wide is their work there? I mean, are they gonna have room to do all that
think
within
they-
the,
Well, we own the land outside of that, and you have
on the
custody
Mazzarino
of
side?
control.
Or do we own it on both sides?
This, on both sides of
On
that
both
easement is
sides.
raised pond conservation area.
Okay.
I think that part of that, I would have to look at the property plan, but I believe part of the sewer is on the 224
Yes.
This is a sewer main replacement, correct?
repair,
Repair. Yeah.
Just a
replacement repair.
point repair or?
They'll be replacing it in.
There you go.
I
actually,
apologize, I wasn't at the last two
This is
meetings.
the property map.
I have this figure too. But yeah, they'll be doing repair work in two locations. There's one in the roadway, and then this is completely outside of resource areas and the buffer zone. And then this repair, in both locations, they'll be replacing this section of pipe with a larger diameter pipe. And then this location is within the buffer zone, and partly, well, all of it's within BLSF also. But there shouldn't be any loss of flood.
How deep's the excavation? It's not very deep in there, right?
I think they said the trench will be between about 12 and 15 feet.
Oh, it is deep.
So it's pretty
That's
deep.
deep.
Oh, yeah, because that's right, it's going to a pump station.
The piece that's going to be, that is non-jurisdictional, you're going to hit some serious water there. Believe me, I worked on that subdivision, and it's probably the muddiest job that I ever worked on in 40 years. Those houses on the inside are built on triple foundations because they pushed that hill into the center so they could build those houses. And it was awful. It was just clay and water.
So I was asking the width of the easement, because it's almost, even with small point repairs, it's almost like a frac tank
That's what I thought.
might be needed in there. How the heck do you get it in? I guess you can
So
skid
they're
it in.
coming in off a raised pond by the pump station, up the
Just drag it
easement.
up. They can just drag it up.
Yeah, there's like a trail, sort of, like a walking path within the woods that's part of, within the easement, starting down here off of the raised pond pump station. And they'll just be going in north. And if there's also a small IBW here, which is too small to be jurisdictional, but if they have to bring equipment over it, then they would use like some composite matting just to protect.
Well, the IBW is larger than was flagged, because they didn't flag what was within the sort of path. But you permitted a much larger, or similar sewer project when they raised the manholes, they came through
Much
here.
different.
Oh, yeah, no, work-wise, it's much
Yeah.
different, but they've used this easement, it's maintained, it's clear, they can use it for
So
access.
they can pull a frac tank and get the silts out that we're gonna be concerned about.
It's also relatively free of vegetation, so there shouldn't be too much clearing necessary, maybe a little bit of like shrub and sapling, but it's pretty clear.
So this hasn't gone out to bid yet? You're doing the permitting first, then it'll go out to bid?
I believe so, yeah.
This isn't just a DPW project, this is being done because 1210 Osgood Street intends to connect to this sewer. So the whole development that you permitted at 1210 needs this enlargement to happen.
Right, yeah, it's a joint.
So the reason why I asked the question of the bidding sequence is that I think we should throw caution to the wind and say, look, we're gonna require a frac tank.
Okay.
That way, at least you get a bid item in the bid documents for a frac tank, and that way it's not gonna be a change order and you pay 3 times what it's worth.
Right.
Any more questions, Joe?
I'm all set.
Al?
I have no questions.
Deb?
No questions.
Doug? All right, so we need a motion to continue?
So moved.
No,
No?
this can
But
close
I
an
will wait
issue.
for a number.
Nope, we have a number.
We have a DEP file number now.
1706.
It should be on there, yeah,
It
1706.
is, yeah. This is,
But you were waiting for
What was the
comments?
conversation about still under review, not
Yeah.
under review?
No, so the last project didn't have natural heritage, but I thought this one said
You were just confusing
waiting
the
for
two.
comments.
Okay.
But I think this
That's
is the
what I
one
meant.
that's,
You said something was for review. But, okay. Motion to approve.
close an
No.
issue.
Close an issue.
Close
So
the
moved.
issue, I'm sorry.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? And that's unanimous. Thank you.
Great,
yeah,
thank you.
All right, next one is 242-1709, 75 Nutmeg Lane.
Did you send me this plan? 75.
Oh, there it is. Jen? Oh, she's looking at my TV screen.
I don't think so. Is this the only way you sent it to me? There it is. Well, we got it anyway. Did you give me your green cards, or did you scan them to me? Your notifications, or did you drop them off?
I dropped them all off, yeah.
Okay. think I took any photos, yeah. So, just to put it simply, that, it's a single-family house on an existing undeveloped lot within the Abbott Village subdivision. We reviewed the wetland line, all work is outside of the 50-foot no-build zone. There's roof infiltrators and a driveway swale to kind of deal with any excess runoff from the site, and I'm sure Tom can provide you with a lot more detail.
Yeah, I mean, it's a relatively straightforward, sort of plain vanilla, single-family house lot. Virtually all of the work is outside of the 50, except for a very small portion where the driveway accesses from Nutmeg, just a little bit inside of the 50. The 50-foot setback line is kind of tough to see. It's a very busy plan, but it runs basically along the existing common driveway that services the other two lots. That's where the erosion control will be placed, right along that driveway. So all of the work is really beyond the work that was already done there in terms of its proximity to the wetlands. The lot is relatively cleared, other than in the very back. We'll be taking maybe another 20 feet of the tree line out to make a little bit of a yard, but that's also outside of the jurisdiction area.
Joe?
No questions?
Al?
No waiver request, right?
No.
No questions.
No questions. Doug?
Yeah, I got a question. This lot includes the common driveway that exists?
Yes, that common driveway actually...
No, the common driveway exists and it goes over this lot.
Correct.
And you're proposing to construct a driveway that basically parallels this common driveway. Why are you doing that?
Because that's the only thing that the town's regulations allow. It's the only reason.
The common drive already services two houses, and it
Why in
can't
hell
service more.
isn't there a way with the town where you can appeal that?
Can I tell you that I've had a discussion about this, and I will pursue that, just so you know, but it requires, at a minimum, decisions that are discretionary by two boards, and we're still not even sure that they have the authority to make those decisions. So the simple answer is, I would do exactly what you think I should do and I want to do if I was allowed to do it. And if I'm allowed to do it, then I will.
Well, it just seems if the town doesn't see the common sense in doing that, then they're a bunch of idiots.
The original subdivision proposal, what was that? What did it show in the original subdivision proposal?
It shows this as a lot.
Never showed any improvements at all.
No, but you have the background on that.
Well,
When Abbott Village came in through the final settlement,
This lot was created.
this lot was
This
just a
lot-
It's on the
lot, not,
subdivision
And
plan.
This lot was created as part of...
just the lot itself, not any improvements
in the
on
way
it.
in the way of background, the folks who lived to the right next door bought this lot for additional privacy when they built their home there. They've owned it for that entire time, and it was a store of value for them, of course. I mean, that was the intent, but also, as family life changes and everything, and the kids grow up and move out, I mean,
The
things
question
change.
that I asked was more as a way of curiosity, but on the same token, that knowing that there were things that came out of our deliberations over, don't want to exaggerate, but 15 years?
15 years.
15 years, when we finally settled, there was a submission based on old standards, which it showed lots of improvements. Is there in fact a common driveway that you might already be grandfathered and entitled to?
Well, we have looked and we've searched the title, and we will check again, but,
Well, there's nothing that could be done under the old filing per se, because that is closed out.
that's settled.
I looked at the as-built filing, which clearly shows this lot, but nothing on it. I didn't look at the proposed plan, but as you know, for this subdivision, all of the proposed plans were boxes on it's never what was built. So,
Right, there were envelopes.
Right.
And it litigated for 15 years, Jim.
Oh, I know, I
And
cleaned
then
out
we
the file.
finally settled. We put a subcommittee together to settle it, and that took a year.
right. And
This is a lifetime project.
You signed off on the COC maybe 2 years ago after we had them.
So rather than
redo-
dealing with speculation, I'm just simply saying that there was a proposal that was memorialized by a court decree, settlement agreement, and if a shared driveway, common driveway is part of that, you might have something that,
Well, the order of conditions is now defunct, so it's settled, it's done, there's nothing that can be done
I'm not
under it.
saying
It
from
would
our
only be,
perspective, I'm saying that if the,
if
because
the
it was also,
subdivision if the subdivision allowed something, but you're saying the subdivision doesn't show a house on this lot.
That's correct.
Right, so two different decisions.
And currently, you know, again, I know of one or two instances at least where there are 3 homes on common driveways in North Andover. I think they are, if not ancient, they're very old. They predate that regulation. If there is a way to do it, then we'll do it. I mean, there certainly is a, you know, a case to be made for that.
this thing had to start more than 30 years ago, you know, from today.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Anyway, enough of that.
So Doug, we did think about that. We did look into it, but again, my hands are tied. I have to deal with the rules and regulations as they exist.
So if they were to close and issue this, would you amend the order, or?
I will pursue that, and if in fact I'm allowed to do it, then I will come back and either ask for a minor modification or an amendment or whatever's required, if we're allowed to do it, absolutely. It's the right thing to do. It's just a question of whether or not we're allowed to. It's really that simple.
We have no basis to deny the access.
No, I mean, it's.
Well, no, we simply don't. I mean, he's prohibited by the bylaw from putting a third house on that common driveway. We can't overrule that.
Part of your driveway is going onto somebody else's property.
And there will, in fact, if you know, if you can see there is an easement there that's existed, that was, at some point in the process, was conceived of years ago, because that easement exists, that little triangular
Yeah, I see.
easement is there for that purpose,
I see it,
Doug.
yeah.
So somebody did think this through to some degree, knowing what the rules and regulations were. So somebody had some advanced thought.
Somebody was doing some false thinking, I'll tell you.
Right, well, I think if it didn't meet the performance standards, you could require him to research that before approving it, but as it's submitted, it meets all of the
Well, that's why I asked
standards.
right out, there are no waiver requests here. There are no waiver requests. So,
The existing access is far closer than anything that's,
I mean, this is just not our problem,
right.
frankly.
I'm sure everybody involved would like to not see parallel driveways.
Yeah, and we have done those occasionally, but again, I agree with what you're saying, and you have my word that I will pursue it, and I'll check into it. If there's a way, then we'll pursue it.
All right, we need a motion to continue.
Do it.
No, he wants to close.
Close.
Oh, yeah.
He wants to close. He doesn't want to continue.
I mean, looking into that a little, I mean, could take a lot of time. I mean, you know, I intend to be diligent about it, but to hold up, I mean, you know.
Do you have the ability to use the common drive for construction access? If you were to not construct the driveway to start?
My
Don't be a
intent,
coincidence.
my intent is to at least get started with a temporary, gravel, stone pad from the shoulder in there. We don't want to disturb, you know, realistically, that's a driveway, regardless of what the rights are, that's a driveway that 2 families are using that's in excellent condition. For us to run heavy equipment over it would be irresponsible, and I don't think anybody would really want me to do that. I mean, I don't want to do it. I don't think anybody here or there would want that to happen. We had that discussion specifically with the neighbors, that it's our intention to not disturb what's there.
There's also the addition of the other catch basin, correct?
But, yes, yeah.
At the, in the right of way. I think that was DPW's request.
Yeah, that catch basin that you see at the apron of the driveway is really in a place that, again, this is a lot of history here, so I don't know why it's there. It's in a place that they typically don't allow it to be, a DPW, in the driveway. So what we discussed with John down at DPW was if we don't have enough room to keep that catch basin out of the next apron, then we will move that catch basin just off the paved surface. And that catch basin will become a manhole. You see the notes in there, Joe? I see you. It's
No,
small.
I'm looking at it down here.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right. But
You think I was asleep?
there is notes to that
We have a
effect.
screen down
And-
here.
And again, we thought that through. Sorry.
We have a screen right in front of us that you can't see.
Probably a good thing.
Same as that.
It's the same screen.
I'm sure.
It just looks like we're taking a nap. We're not looking at the screen.
I knew you were reading, Joe.
All right, so
So in any event, I mean, I think, the thing is, Lou, I mean, obviously what I want to do is get started. If there's a way of improving this as we go, I mean, this project does not get done overnight. If there's a way of running parallel, efforts between the construction and any effort to minimize the impact and simplify the driveways, then I'd like to do that concurrently. It wouldn't have anything to do with this commission specifically, other than a request to minimize the impact.
okay. Any more questions?
So Jen, you've, in your recommendations, you have a comment that we're awaiting a DEP file number. That's no longer valid. We
Oh,
have that, right?
Yeah,
That's
we
what I
do.
was-
have
that's
that.
why I
Sorry,
was
tried to
asking
remove all
about the
those
continue.
comments, but
Okay.
Oh, yeah, we
This
were
is a long
continued from the
agenda.
previous meeting, so.
So we
this has been-
are ready to close.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I move that we close and issue a decision within 21 days.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that's unanimous. That's why I asked about the continuance, because I'm looking at the,
Yeah, we were continued from that last meeting,
That
so
was
I
the,
think that we would.
yeah, this was the review from the last meeting.
Yeah.
like it says,
Okay.
I'm a
I
little
had already
rusty.
written this one, so I didn't, just sort of skipped my mind.
Thank you, folks, very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next one is, can we hear them both at the same time? 242-1708 and 242-1707? Or not?
I mean, they're on the same plan, so I guess discussing them concurrently, obviously.
That would work fine, I think.
Okay.
I don't think it's
Instead of
talk
going
about them in the same breath.
twice,
We'll move them separately and vote them separately, but
right.
Want to set a real hard plan up, so that's something to talk about.
Did you already give me your mailings or proof of mailing?
Those before I get started.
Okay. Thank you.
If it works for you folks, I'm going to move over even closer so I can point to the screen that you're working off of.
You have a mic over there too, it's above your head.
right above your head. Will that pick them up?
Our producer says he has you.
But now it's in stereo.
Great. This is currently a very recently split up property. It's gone through zoning board of appeals. It's a vacant house exists today on this property in this location here. I'll use your screen. That will work. Remember that problem all the time. So anyways, we have an existing house at this location on the property. It's approximately an acre, a little less of total area. It's gone through ZBA and been subdivided into 2 lots. That sort of refreshes, if you will, a previous subdivision of the property back in 63. It didn't get constructed. Now it is proposed for that with an expansion of Lot 1 in this location and a new house in this location on Lot 2. The property itself has associated with it a small intermittent stream that has its origin below a stone wall right here with stormwater and groundwater breakout coming down a very narrow channel down to a bordering vegetated wetland area in this location that eventually drains down under a culvert under Stevens Street. Above the property, there's a stone wall through here, another stone wall over here, another one down here, and over here. And above that stone wall, we have a B wetland line in this area here. It's sort of a, call it a drainage area through here. There's no defined stream channel, but it's bordering vegetated wetlands, got heavy soils. It would be jurisdictional under your local regulations. Under the state, might be a little questionable because there's no stream channel, but it's flagged, it's a wetland. It's on there. We've got buffer zones associated with it, so you've got those to work with. So anyways, that drains down through here, through the BBW area, and down under Stevens Street. The site itself is a very heavily disturbed site. It was used as a contractor's laydown area. A lot of metal, glass.
Where is that?
Where is it?
Yeah, point.
Here.
So the old parking lot.
And yeah, the whole parking lot. Basically everything that's upland and buffer zone, and some encroachment into the edge of the wetland, not much encroachment on the other side of the wetland. Yeah, or on the other side of the wetland.
No, this is, we want, Joe needs to get oriented as to the location of the property.
In the upper
okay.
corner
At
of
Kitchen's
the,
Farm, right?
You don't have a,
yeah, there's a locus in the upper
There's a
corner of the plan in front of you.
all right, well,
It's just above Stevens Pond.
so
And just
Stevens Street,
north
Right here, right here.
of
You got it?
the Swimming
Okay, all
Beach
right,
area.
All right.
Stevens, okay? Gotcha.
Yep.
Sorry about that.
so when you're looking at it from the street, the parking lot to the left side that goes upslope is the area where you have a debris field.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's a bunch of photos of the debris that's out there too.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a mess, quite frankly.
It
But
is.
anyways,
Okay.
another issue. With regard to the delineation issues, Jen had gone out and taken a look at the boundary. I had flagged simply the center line of that stream channel because it's really never flowed more than a foot wide. She wanted to expand it a little bit. I had no problem expanding it because it really doesn't have much of an effect. So I've got sort of a 5 to 7 foot wide, maybe 9 foot wide channel through here. I flagged what I see as the drainage from the stream, and the stream is sort of high water mark for the year. Because it's man-made and excavated and filled, I thought that using the sort of the edge of existing water flows, which I had an opportunity to observe 8 times over the last year and a half, and only 4 of those have had flow in it, mind you, but it does take flow, groundwater breakout, which originates just below the stone wall at this point right here. And there's no real connection between the two, but obviously groundwater is going in here and out here. And down. So it's picking up groundwater, some surface water flows as well. Jennifer had a comment earlier this week that we might want to expand that by 1.5 feet or 2. I have no problem doing it. I just can't justify it from the standpoint of where the real stream flow is.
I haven't witnessed flow, but it's just, the house side of the channel is stone lined. If you're going to call something bank, it's usually the first observable break in slope, and that would be those stones, which someone probably laid at some point to be ornamental. I have no idea, but I mean, there's a clear connection. There's an up gradient well, and there's a channel, and there's a down gradient well, and I think it's clearly jurisdictional. It's just a matter of, I'm not going to argue about the width, but I haven't seen it flow, and it doesn't look like it scours or anything like that.
Along that point, if I could just ask one question, I know it's out of turn, but the land above, up gradient,
Yep, up here.
was formerly part of the old Kittredge farm.
Yep.
Yeah, it is part of Kitcher's Farm.
So is it possible that you're picking up an old agricultural tile?
Drain tiles,
It's possible, but I don't see anything below the stone wall, but the drainage itself may emanate from tile drains within the area above that. It sort of grades up and away. There's another house, I believe it's Kitcher's house over in this area,
Yeah.
but this sort of drains out in this fashion, it's slow going uphill,
Yeah.
you know, minimum gradient. It reminds me a little bit of the Osgood Street fields, where you're the only one, I think, maybe Joe was on there.
Oh, I know what you're talking about, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
This is also the
Well, that-
low point of the hill. I mean, the Kittredge property runs off and
Right.
down
Yeah.
towards the pond,
But
so.
When Francis Kittredge was alive, he constructed
Tile drain.
multiple tiles on the property so that he could successfully run his equipment over the field and hay it. Otherwise, he was going in and out of ditches. I know I witnessed some tile construction, not in this area, but I remember when there was some done.
I remember when we did the Osgood Street site, there was actually sort of went out there after a storm, and there was a little geyser sticking up out.
Yeah,
You know,
because that's where,
the
yeah.
tile had been blocked.
I'm just wondering if that
could be,
if
Al,
that
I
were,
wouldn't,
it might explain what you have.
We don't do a lot of exploration off-site.
I got you. I understand that. I'm
Yeah,
just,
I poked around up there. It's hydric
Kurt might know that
soils.
stuff, you know.
Yeah, it's a hydric soil. It's dominated by, small red maples. It used to be an agricultural use, I'm sure, not 30 years ago, maybe.
No, not 30
because
not 30
everything is
years.
very young out there. So it's young saplings.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
That's okay. No, I think it's good to understand the site because it's part of the story, if you will. Anyways, I have no problem, Jennifer, if you want us to expand that. I don't notice we'll close tonight. If we do great, I can simply add a foot and a half or two to that delineation. It doesn't make a big difference from the standpoint of
Jennifer, your
the site.
logic in asking for the expansion isn't just arbitrary, it's based on if it's banked, there's a definitive break in topography.
Right.
And
Kurt seemed to be in the middle of it, which is fine if you observed water flowing and knew that that was the width of where the water flowed, but I've never observed that, so the only thing I can go by is where the defined bank is, which is somewhat wider. Again, we're talking at one flag, it was 1.5 feet, at the other, it was 2 feet. I would never
and
even.
it doesn't affect,
I wouldn't move
I
a
can change
wetland
it.
line that was
When
like
we
that.
have artificial banks that have been constructed and man-made, you don't always find that they represented the real bank that might have been there before they started digging. And you have this bank, and then you have the bottom of the channel, if you will, and about a foot of that gets water from my observations. And it could be, question, I think Jennifer made a point to me that it could be flashy, and I go, yeah, but it's really not very connected with any sort of stream, and there's no sign of scour. So to me, it's just a little piddling stream, quite frankly. But again, it doesn't make a big difference. We can change it.
Okay.
Let's see where we get to. And Jennifer had given me some other comments over the last couple of days. One was concerned about the driveways pitching to the street, and we had filed with the commission an alternative analysis that was put together by Phil Christensen, myself, and Don Bornstein, looking at that issue because some of it gets back to the zoning board approvals and history. And what we have proposed is to put pervious pavement in there with water stops to allow infiltration of any runoff from that driveway area. So, from the standpoint of the pitch towards the road, we think we can deal with that adequately with that pervious pavement, which helps in a lot of different ways on the site, because actually all of this site as developed goes towards the street, and all of this one goes towards the street as well. There's really nothing that goes in that
the
direction.
driveway to Lot 2 is relatively flat and Lot 1 steeper, right?
Yes, correct. You've got a couple of 26 at the road, 28, 30 going around the edge, so 3 or 4 feet.
Oh, those are at the bottom of a hill.
Right. They both.
Those are at the bottom of a hill.
That's correct. The actual bottom, here's a 25 at 122 elevation down here, 124, 126, 122. So it's coming down in this direction, going down that. It goes down to where the culvert is under the road, actually. That's
What-
the lowest.
The
What did-
culvert's just off-site.
What did the DPW say about the driveways being pitched toward the roadway?
I don't know as they've seen it.
You have not.
Because they frown on it.
Yeah.
They usually like it to level it off to
Yeah.
get the bottom to,
And we can do that to the degree we can do it, but as Joe indicated, it does have a slope, particularly on lot 1, that we can, I think we can deal with it. And the pervious pavement, 2-foot bed, and it's gonna pick up a lot of water.
Right.
With water bars, we don't end up with a lot of leakage down the bottom.
right.
And if we have to, create a shallow swale at some point, there's an issue.
I was just going to say, so you put the water bars in and you redirect, where does it go?
Yeah.
Gets into a shoulder that
Well-
doesn't have any,
Well, that
The
whole
water
street-
bars
definition to it.
are within the bed of the crushed stone, so the intent would be to pound the water up in the infiltrator and give it time to infiltrate.
Most of the houses up the street on Stevens Street on that side have driveways that have swales at the bottom. If you look at, if you drive up the street and look to the right, which you probably have
I
done.
remember that.
Yeah. There are no houses between this house and the pipe under the street.
Gotcha.
Another issue was infiltration of roof drainage. We can add infiltration systems at the, couple of corners of the houses to make sure that pick up the roof runoff and infiltrate that.
Do we have any soils history out there?
I don't think we have any test pits to speak of. I think at this point, we really haven't done any. My guess is it's probably a Paxton soil, given what I've seen in this area. But I can check that and we can take a look at it. But we don't have a problem putting infiltrators in that would infiltrate to the degree they will infiltrate. Which is to say, we'll do what we can. If you can't do it, you can't do it. But we'll give it the try. Let's see, a barrier between the wetland edge, the no disturb edge, pardon me, and the developed portion of the lots. We'd really like to go with either posts, granite posts with markers on them, or split rail fences, if that's acceptable. It's quite frankly a cost issue, and I think it's still very durable and very observable on this site, these sites from the road. So you'll see them. Those are not shown on the site plan, but we'll add those in. If we can agree on what that might be, that would probably be a good thing to do tonight.
So just for clarification on the same topic, what's shown in hashed green there is your limit of disturbance? Or are you proposing to
Let me get to
disturb
that.
only up
Let
to
me
the
get to that.
25?
Let me get to that in a minute, okay, and it'll be more clear what the green area is, which actually we have, the buffer zone is not vegetated with anything you want to see there. It's got, unfortunately, multiflora rose, Japanese knotweed coming in, other vases, mustards, and it's got this superficial soil problem that we want to eliminate. Scrape it off and then backfill that with good soil, so we've got a basis to
So it's a temporary disturbance within the
It'll be a
25?
temporary disturbance, and we've proposed the revegetation plantings in here, and I'll get into it, I guess, since you asked the question. Our plan is to put a metal plate across this little channel here, have a staging area in this area, and then take all of the invasives out of the area on the other side of the wetland and on the edge of the wetland. There are not too many invasives actually in the wetland, which is sort of nice, but they're all along the edge. Tartarian honeysuckle, multiflora rose, it's a pretty good tangle. There's also black locust, bittersweet. It's a problem on this site. So anyways, the green shaded area through here is all proposed for invasive plant control efforts. This area here where you see plantings being proposed is existing buffer zone with no shrubs on them that will be basically regraded, get the crappy soil out of there, the superficial soil, probably be maybe 2 to 4 inches, maybe a little deeper in some places if there's been fill, but 2 to 4 inches, and then that'll be regraded back to grade with good soil. So, it's just because it's not a safe place to walk.
Why is the 25 not entirely revegetated?
Well, we wanted to leave space for lawn.
The lawn can't be in the 25.
Can't be, I guess what we're trying to do
Well, that would be
is...
a waiver.
Requesting a waiver.
You'd
I guess,
have to
yeah, we're requesting a waiver for that.
I don't think you've requested that waiver, though.
So that's likely to not happen. So what, I'm subscribing to Jen's question, is that I know if we had full complement of members here,
That wouldn't fly.
that absolutely no way
Yeah.
is the 25 going to get, become lawn on a permanent basis.
Okay.
I'm not-
Not to mention-
I'm not for it either.
If Mr. Busby is watching, this would be just to be consistent.
No, we've been consistent forever.
Well, I appreciate that.
You know what we're looking for.
I appreciate the consistency, and I got quite a chuckle out of Doug's comment earlier, why can't you put three driveways on a common driveway? Because we fought that battle in 1989 or so with the planning board, and everybody lost, in my opinion.
We
all
can't,
lost.
we can't comment on stuff like that, as you know, but,
Yeah, I don't see a waiver.
however,
Just before the guideline for disposal of invasive species, there's a waiver request form.
That was for the invasive species work, though, not for lawn and the,
Well, the revegetation, landscaping,
oh, you just don't have our form in here. You're saying you requested it within the narrative
I think I have it on the form.
You do. It's in, before the narrative, or which, back from?
You know, we're talking about administrative paperwork.
I just want to make sure the waiver request is for, I don't recall it being for lawn in the 25. I just
But-
recall
I-
it being for,
let us just,
Unless we've got an extremely unique and compelling reason to stray off of what we've historically held to sacred, I can't imagine how that's ever going to fly.
What,
25.
yeah,
I-
I guess my point, and I appreciate your perspective on that, and I dealt with the board for a long time and understand your sensitivities. This particular site, I think is unique. I think it deserves a unique approach because it is in fact so disturbed. And a lot of the invasive plant work, the plantings of the buffer zone are really mitigation, and the cleaning of the soil are mitigation. And we're trying to make it a better site.
but you're gonna do that anyway.
We may not. I mean, if you don't want us to go there, we can't go there. So, we don't go in the buffer zone, we don't go in the buffer zone.
So evasive control
So
is something,
about
I
60
subscribe to the whole concept of it. I'm still not comfortable with that's where it ultimately gets approved.
Yeah.
But at least I see that as a nice offering. I don't see that in exchange for, additional lawn area.
We'd more be looking for permanent monumentation and a permanent barrier, which is what we look for at the 25. We regard the no disturb as no disturb. That being said, invasive control, we can permit that, but we're not going to permit, I don't think we're going to permit an open lawn area in the 25. I can't believe it. I just don't believe it.
Well,
Just giving you guidance, I mean.
No, I understand, but what we're trying to do is the right thing. We're trying to get to a point where we've got a nice site with no impact to the wetland, all right? I mean, no impact both directly and indirectly, and everything is down grading to that area. And I understand you set your heels in pretty hard on some of these issues, but I think you've got to think a little bit about site-specific conditions, and I think this one does deserve that.
Well, you can, if you want to go in there and clean it up, you can, but then it's going to be restored as a no disturb zone.
Okay, well, we'll have to consider that in how we approach things. But, we want to do the right thing, but we can't afford to do all kinds of things, too, without having some benefit. We have to, the idea is to, somebody's going to buy this house at some point, there's going to be, some value in it. The value is obviously not important so much from a dollars and cents to you folks, but it is to the property owner. So we've got to deal with that.
We appreciate that. We're not trying to be punitive. It simply is a no-go zone.
we try to be consistent. I know for one, that he's not here tonight. He would not go for this at all. The post and rail fence, we never approved those, never. As far as going into the wetlands, I'm for one very opposed to it. It looks like you have a clear run on the 25 to put a stone wall, which we required a past applicant to do. And he wasn't too crazy about it for the expense. But leave the invasives where they are. I mean, they've been there 100 years, they'll be there for 100 more. I think we just should just, however the commission wants the monument to 25, I think that's what we should do. That's what we do with all our applicants, and stay out of the buffer zone. But that's my personal opinion.
Yeah, I think that, boy, we're going out of turn, so I apologize, but we're kind
I'm sorry,
of going back and forth here.
We're jumping around, sorry.
I think we really have two really uniquely separate questions, and that is lawn area in the 25 and invasives and other cleanup of that area and back there, beyond the resource area. And, I don't necessarily see them blending together. There are dozens, if not hundreds of houses that have physical barriers at the 25, and the backland, if you will, is natural. It's what it is, whether it's invasive or not. Now, I'm going to stop short by saying I haven't seen the site, and I'm not a glutton for punishment that I think we always should do site walks, but if there is such a compelling discussion about the degree of invasiveness of what is out there and the impact on this otherwise pristine wetland area, with emphasis.
That was good.
With emphasis.
That was good.
Then I'd like to see that, because what I don't, what I really think I'm going to see is that it's only a way to clean up the backyard to make the lawn area that much more appealing, to make the marketing of the houses that much better, much
Actually,
easier.
it helps to pay for all that mitigation.
You've also just seen this on two other, they were both ORADs in front of you, but on Boxford Street and out on the corner of Johnson and Mill, you did ORADs on two large properties that are going to come before you as NOIs. Both, you stated in the ORADs that you would require them to clean up the dump
farm
sites.
Exactly.
And restore the 25-foot no disturb zone and monument. And some of those, it's
Not negotiable, exactly.
It wasn't negotiable. You put it in their ORADs, for heaven's sake, not even in their notices of intent. So I think this is a discussion we can continue to have, but probably not one that is going to happen.
Well,
My second concern is, and we haven't dealt with it, is the driveway is in the 50-foot. And that isn't necessarily a waiver request. That is, they have to prove that they have no alternative to put it in the 50.
How do they do that when they just got
a brand new lot?
Just got a
right.
variance?
Right, but that's,
Was it a
I guess,
variance?
I just wanted to take, we've discussed, I think, the one issue, but we
So
also
you
need to
can't
discuss
create
the
a wetlands hardship by virtue of getting a variance from another board, which theoretically might be what happened here. I don't know that for a fact. I mean, I'll look at that in more detail, but, the fact that they've created these lots through zoning some time ago, I don't know when, but, and now are before us seeking waiver for the driveway and I guess also at the same time, waiver for better backyards beyond the 25, I think it's disingenuous. I think it's the cart before the horse. Zoning's allowed to make decisions in a vacuum, as is planning in a vacuum.
Well, zoning wasn't in a
But you
vacuum.
can't-
I informed them of what the issues were before they, you have a letter,
Oh, okay.
my memo
I
to the
haven't
zoning
seen that
board
yet.
of
I haven't read that
appeals.
yet. So they can make those decisions, but they can't then turn around and come to us and say, well, we, get through zoning, this is what we need from you. I mean, they can ask that, but, I think the answer, I apologize for my tone, but I think the answer is you're not going to convince me that you created your own hardship, therefore you're going to give me a waiver. I'm just...
Would it be useful for you to understand more thoroughly from Don Bornstein, who attended the ZBA meetings, how that evolved, so you can appreciate it?
Doesn't matter, because the driveway it's clearly in a violation. If you came before us, regardless of zoning, we probably wouldn't have approved it, because there is clearly an alternative to put a driveway on this lot.
And where are you suggesting that go?
In the front of the house
You have alternative
and
2.
straight out.
You have alternative 2 listed as a front-load garage.
Right. Difficulty with that
Haven't seen,
is we have looked at it, alternative analysis. And the difficulty is you've got a problem with side of the front line, and you can't actually get cars out of there without basically jockeying around. And there are going to be situations where you've got people that come in, and they're going to be backing out onto Stevens Street. And that's why
I'm
the
gonna go
CBA actually
back-
said that it wouldn't be like this.
It's not the
but
first
that's the
house.
point. Alternative 1 is single-family lot. Alternative 1 is, don't go to ZBA and get a variance and create the hardship. Alternative 1 is the way it was. Build a house. Or configure it in a different
I
way.
understand what you're saying, but I will suggest to you that the alternative we're proposing is a very reasonable land use opportunity for the town and for this property.
I don't understand how this presents, I
Wait,
mean, into the front of the
I'm
garage.
gonna
why does
comment to
present
that. A reasonable land use alternative that seeks a waiver that we haven't granted in the past from our wetlands
But
regulations.
with a no impact situation. So it's only of the fact
What's the
that
impact?
you're
What's the
so
no
hung up on
impact?
your precedents.
What's the no impact?
We're hung up on our bylaw,
There-
not on our
Yeah.
precedent.
I'm sorry, maybe that was the same. There's
Correct, and I
there's
like
no
you. I
drainage.
raised my tongue because
No,
I'm
I
frustrated. Yeah,
understand,
we
I
get along
understand.
for years.
Yeah, no, I take this with, in stride. There's no drainage towards the wetland, okay, from the house area. All of this basically comes down like that. You know, some of it might hit down in here, from this portion up here, but almost all of these areas drain to the road, all right? You know, the opportunity to clean these areas up, get invasives out, give us a perpetual condition to be able to do that over long term, and then revegetate this area with something other than new invasives coming in, which is all what's going to happen. When you put a barrier in there, a stone wall that can't have any openings in it, and you're going to lose it.
But it happens all over town.
But isn't that a shame?
That's what no disturb zones all over town are populated with all
But
kinds
a
of...
no disturb zone isn't a no access zone.
Well,
Can't kids go play in the woods or,
kids can go play in the woods, absolutely.
okay.
And they
Well,
can
that's-
play in the poison ivy, absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
let's put it in the state regs, never mind our own bylaw. Let's put it in the state regs. If this was a state jurisdictional wetland area,
It
and
is a state jurisdiction.
and you had but one access to get into the property as a single lot, and you go to the zoning board, which you're allowed to do, and create a second lot, doesn't create hardship, i.e. limited project for the second lot. You can't do it. So by virtue of creating this, creating the lot configuration, you in essence have created the necessity for a waiver or some sort of other alternative to that waiver.
But you started that conversation by saying that under the state regulations, and under the state regulations, there's no limited project provisions here.
What I'm saying is
and no
that
buffer
by
zone
virtue of
limitations.
subdivision, whether the zoning board allows it or not, that doesn't allow a limited project. You
I
can't create
concur with
that,
that.
you can't
I
create.
concur with that.
So
Yeah.
in the local sense now, by virtue of the zoning board's action, you in fact have created the necessity to seek a waiver or a waiver from our own bylaw and our own regulations. To me, it's disingenuous and it's caught before the horse. This sort of thing should have been, needed to be smoked out prior to a decision issued by the zoning board. And having a decision issued by the zoning board, you then are stuck with, I believe, being here before us with our bylaw and our regs the way we see them.
I think the reason that
And I
we're
think you
here-
got a problem.
I think the reason we're here by that,
And I don't mean to lead the charge on this, but
Don Bornstein can answer the question because he was actually there, but, and Jennifer did write a letter saying that it's within the 50-foot buffer zone and there's no latitude for movement of the house. But there was no conversation with regard to, where's the driveway going to go, or you can't put a driveway into the 50-foot. It was related to what was shown on that site plan, and you cannot expect ZBA to know your regulations or appreciate your sensitivity with some of these issues.
So then that's where we come in. And what you should be hearing from us is that the alternative that you have before us sounds like it's not likely to pass. So that should be giving you the motivation that you need to either seek a better alternative or revise the plan or something.
I mean, there's alternatives to turn the house.
We're not saying you can't build the house. We're saying you might have to tweak Lot 2 a little bit so that it doesn't require a waiver.
If I find a way to reduce that, but not eliminate it, but reduce it, would that make you happy, or you're saying basically you can't do anything in the 50-foot zone?
You're going right into
I mean, why not make it a no-build zone? Why don't you define structures differently?
the corner of the house is at the 50. So how are you going to put a driveway in?
You can make it comply. You know how to make it comply. You've got an alternative that actually does comply. You just don't like it.
Well, it doesn't work from an engineering perspective.
Well, it's your alternative, not mine. So
Well, it's an
you gave us an
alternative
alternative
that
and
we
you say it
didn't
doesn't
accept.
work. So if you put an alternative in this paper, alternative number 2, front load garage, that you're telling me doesn't work, why would you give us an alternative that doesn't work?
So you understood why it can't work.
Well,
If we didn't show you one and
so
show
history-
you that it doesn't work, then where would we be?
So we've known each other a long time.
Yeah.
And history has taught us that you can make something work with sufficient motivation. I
Appreciate your confidence.
And I know that you can. You're at the top of the heap, and you can get that done. You know how to make that work. In my humble opinion, and this is not a shot, you're taking the path of least resistance. I think it might be a little more work, but you got to find a way to make it work. We want you out of the 50.
Trying to see if there's any other logical thing that I can say to you that would persuade you to accept the fact that this is.
Your statement's not
very
without
good.
logic. I understand the logic. It's just that all of that's based on us waiving two things that we hold pretty sacred.
You know, you have 3 commissioners right now that I can think off the top of my head that won't approve this project.
Well, let me
So
try
if we
one
want to
more.
keep going over and over again, we can stay till 2 in the morning.
Yeah,
Actually, we're not staying until 2 in the morning,
All
Mr.
right,
Chairman.
so it's that project right before us is not approved.
So what we have right now is we have a lawn area that we need to digest. We have the issue with the invasives up top that I would like to take a look at it.
Well, we can hear that, but yeah.
No, because I'm trying to find, and then the issue with the driveway. And beyond that, we're looking at pretty conventional, single-family house construction.
I think
Not complicated otherwise, so we can keep beating it up and designing it from the table, which is not what we do. Or we continue it,
well,
and to get those other things done.
we should
Right.
go down the table, but what I think Kurt's heard us.
Yeah, the only other thing, if I could, Mr.
Doug,
Chairman,
do
is
you have any
mention.
questions? Excuse me.
I'm sorry.
Doug, do you have any questions?
No,
No?
Oh, come on, Doug, say something.
He doesn't want to stay
No,
here. He doesn't want to stay
We're
here
not
midnight.
holding you back, Doug.
no, the local bylaw has a 25-foot no disturb zone, a 50-foot no build zone. Those are in local bylaws and aren't in the state regulations.
Right.
I'm not in favor of local bylaws. I think they should be thrown out and go with the State Wetlands Protection Act. That's sufficient to take care of things. So, his arguments for doing what he's doing, I'm not necessarily in disagreement with him. You guys are all bent out of shape over it. I'm not.
thanks.
So, if you want me to say anything, I've said.
Oh, that's good. It's good to hear that.
That's good.
Because it does show that there's some freshness in the way we all think. But the bylaw is what we have.
Well, I understand the
take our
bylaw
oath
is what we
and
have.
swear to it for our
The whole
3-year
thing
term.
is creating these zones, it's because some tree hugger back in the late 80s, something like that, went in and said, oh, we gotta have these things on local levels. And everybody else, oh, we're gonna jump on board. They jump on board. You don't need this crap. If the state felt you needed it, they would have included it.
We were the first, by
This
the
is
way.
called home rule, and that's exactly the reason why the commissions were created in the first place from the Wetlands Protection Act, was for home rule. That's the basis of it. I understand you don't like it, I get it, but
And to
No,
that,
I don't see the rationale for it.
so
I really don't.
There is a lot of science behind it, if
There-
anybody wants to read it.
So we
There was an awful lot of
we should
science
debate
behind it.
this at another time, though, because we're chewing up, we have other,
But the point I wanted to
other
make just before
customers.
we move on is that the reason we have the 50 is to prevent things being rammed down our throats, that when there are in fact other alternatives. The reason why we allow alternatives analysis is when you've got single-family person coming in to look to do something on their own lot, or someone looking to develop a single lot, a house on a single lot that existed for a long time, and there is no other alternative, it gives us the ability to consider and grant the waiver. And we're not going to say, we've never said, don't ever put a driveway in the 50, ever, 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 because we have, when there are no other alternatives. My position here is, because of the subdivision, they've created no other alternatives. That's what the bylaw was looking to prevent.
So in this case, we're not talking about a structure in the 50-foot zone, we're talking about a driveway.
So all we're looking for from the applicant is to show us an alternative that that we think works, or show us why it absolutely can't, and so far we don't see that. So far we don't see that.
Well, I agree, he hasn't demonstrated.
He's got alternatives, and he hasn't shown us that it can't be done.
Look,
So-
I'm
The
getting
other
off the table, but I don't know
alternative
if
he
it's
showed right
viable
back
on
here
lot
on the
2
street, people
to
back
flip
up the
garage and
street all
house,
over the place.
flip it and put the driveway
do it.
over by the other driveway. If
No,
that were the case, you've got some
get
more
some back there.
maneuverability.
We're out of time.
I think flipping it might work.
All right,
So what we need to do is,
well,
Let's
what we have to
continue it.
do is to
I
continue.
think a sidewalk would be useful for those people who have not seen the site, because it's worth 1,000 words to actually view it on the site and see what the bases look like and what the site looks like.
Yeah, that I
I'm very
absolutely.
And the
familiar.
other thing I
Right.
mentioned
Saw
while you're
you.
there is we've got a whole pile of the existing driveway area, both gravel and paved area up in here. It's all proposed to be taken out, and some of that's in the 50, all right? So, some 422, square feet in through here is being taken out of pavement. And we're putting pervious pavement in both lots under this proposal. So we get a lot of benefits.
All right, well, we need it, like I said, I would come with a strong alternatives analysis for the second driveway.
Attorney Bernstein wants to...
All right, and we'll get,
Going to yield the floor here to,
If you don't mind. I
Mr.
came all the way from Andover.
It was a long trek. Did you run it or drive it?
I actually drove it tonight. It
All
was
right,
good.
okay.
Little human.
Don Bornstein, attorney for the applicant, 12 Chestnut Street, Johnson and Bornstein is my office. Nice to see you folks again. I do want to just give a little bit of overview. This question's obviously not going to be solved tonight, but just to let you know how we came to the layout you see today and why you're seeing it. And I'm aware of your regulations. It talks about driveways and things associated with driveways. Retaining walls may be allowed in the 50 feet when there is no other feasible alternative. And my short letter was an effort to explain some of the alternatives we looked at. I think what maybe might not be coming through tonight, it might come through a little bit better when you walk the site, is this is an interesting situation. This lot is very interesting. I've been involved with it for several months now with Mr. Brecker. You've got an 1880s historic, but basically abandoned home on the site. You've got a large area of clear driveway space that's been used as a contractor's yard in the past. You've got debris sort of from edge to edge all over the place where it's been filled. You've got invasive species have taken over pretty much all the uncleared part of the site. And Mr. Brecker approached this with a sort of a creative approach to an interesting situation. He lives across the street basically from this lot. It's got a back history of being given a variance back in 1963 to divide it into 2 lots. It actually had 2 dwellings sometime in the past because there's a foundation of an old dwelling, which is somewhere along the edge of Lot 1 and Lot 2. So you've got this hodgepodge of facts, and you've got what obviously is not an ideal situation right now, very not ideal. And Mr. Brecker's approach, rather than sort of blasting this out and putting sort of whatever, typical builder's giant home on the site, he's approached it with how do we save the existing home? How do we bring that back? How do we put a complementary home on the site? How do we clean up all that sort of ugly gravel and pavement? How do we get rid of that trash? How do we get rid of those invasives and put 2 quality complementary homes that have, even the new home has a very historic character? And he brought that whole story to the zoning board. And we started playing with the lot lines and moving lot lines around from the old 63 lot lines, trying to make all these different ideas fit. to make a drastic improvement over what's there today. And this is sort of the compromise that we came to with the zoning board, and what they ultimately supported very strongly was you can, if you move the home a little bit forward and you make it the historic character, and he's got architectural design that's part of his ZBA approval, and if you slide it a little bit to the left, you give enough room for that, for a renovated, expanded home at the historic site. You can also make room for the Howletts, who are to the, as I'm facing the plan, to the right of that plan. They're the neighbors there. That existing home is right on top of their lot line. They wanted a little buffered area in there. They didn't want to see expansion of that home towards them. That was accommodated, so there's going to be a vegetated buffer along their area. So there were a lot of compromises that were made to come up with a good end product. Some of that has a portion of the driveway extended into the 50 feet. And the reason why we wanted to bring this to the board like this, you know, understanding that that's not an as-of-right thing, was we looked at a lot of different ways to lay out this site and what was feasible, what was the best way to lay this out. Could you do it other ways? Sure, you could slap some garage doors facing on the street. You could have a really short driveway. That would actually be cheaper. You could back those cars out into the street and tie up traffic on Stevens Street. Sure, you could do that. That wouldn't be all that safe. The neighbors came out to the zoning board. I mean, they didn't want to see cars backing out into the street. They wanted to see quality homes. They didn't want to see sort of just your you know, standard cheapest builder's model home. They wanted something compatible with the historic home. And so did Mr. Brecker, who is a neighbor. And so we came up with this concept, which was a creative approach to an interesting kind of convoluted story on a very non-ideal situation. And we're putting it in front of you now and trying to show you the quality of what we've come up with as a solution to an existing problem. And we're not asking for a decision on it tonight, but we do want you to go out to the site, take a look at the trash, take a look at the gravel, take a look at the house that's been abandoned for several years, and then come back and look at this plan and tell us, is this something that's worth considering, rather than just discounting right off the bat because you generally draw a hard line at the 50. We understand that. This might be a spot where that line gets a little bit softer. Maybe there's some tweaks that can be made to that driveway to make it better. Porous pavement helps when we're doing porous pavement. I think we're proposing to do it on both driveways. The lawn, the little extra lawn and the 25-foot, I haven't talked to Jerry about it. That seems like an easy give, to eliminate that and do the replantings of the native species right up to that 25-foot line. I think that's an easy give. We need to talk about that. But overall, this can be a high-quality thing, and also high quality for your interests. And I know you do it with blinders on, but at the end of the day, you know, Jerry's looking to do what's good for the town. You folks are looking to do what's good for the town. The zoning board was looking to do what's good for the town. If we all take a second look at this, I think we might get to something that is the best alternative. And isn't that the one that's most feasible? And that's what we're asking the board to do. So that's the kind of conversation I'd like to pick up with once you guys see the site and really consider what we're doing here and understand the quality. And then we can talk about, is the give we're looking for this commission, is it justified? Is this the most feasible? Because, yeah, we could throw a front-load driveway on here and have a much less attractive overall project, but you guys might not like that as much either once you see the site and understand it better. So, anyhow, thanks for hearing from me. It made my drive over worth it. Next time I'll jog because I got Yankee homecoming coming up.
I'll see you at Yankee.
All right, you better run fast.
It's not likely.
So, thank you, Don. I think the simple next step is to either set up a formal site walk or an informal site walk, however you want to do it. More than happy to.
Probably informal. I'll just see who I can get together and.
Some of us know this property very well, you know.
I'm sure.
I mean, you have to realize there were 6 or 7 children that grew up there, and we know them all, and
I just caution our
I mean, I'm just saying,
colleagues
I'm
here
happy to
that
go look at it,
If
but
we're gonna do something that strays away, we better all have set eyes on this thing and be very familiar with it.
you're putting the cart before us.
Here's the current site plan for all of you when you take your site walk. We divided it into 2 plans so that the mitigation, because the mitigation sort of clouded the ability to see the mitigation line. And I think that's clear.
Now, who is the owner at this point, and do we have permission to access it if it's on our own?
I'll take one for now.
So Mr. Melvin, the gentleman who obtained the variance back in 1963, still owns this property, and we have a general authorization from him for both permitting and access to the site.
So you have authority to give us access not as an extension of our hearing, but if we go out individually.
So Counselor, Bill Melvin is
Yes, William
the
Melvin.
owner of record,
Yes.
and he's granting authority for us to visit.
I want to give you the full story. Mr. Melvin is under a conservatorship.
Okay.
At this moment, his conservator has granted that.
Okay, do you
As
have
part of
that?
the effort
So
to sell
you're
them.
representing that to us?
Is
Yes.
there any resident on site that we should check in with?
There's not.
No one
There's nobody living there.
And we have, Jerry, have
Only-
we
only
submitted
one.
the authorization document?
Yes, I believe we have.
So I have a written authorization document. If you don't have it already, we'll make sure you
No,
have
we
it.
just,
I just don't want to be trespassing.
yeah, we try to avoid conflict.
There's no one on site, so anytime I've been there, I've pulled my car in, parked,
Okay.
reviewed the wetlands.
No, that's fair enough.
Okay.
Okay, that's fine.
Still pulling right next to the existing house, go down, go a little bit
Yep.
further. there's a-
Yep.
I see Chris Mellon often parks there in the afternoon.
Yeah, no, it's no problem.
You know, chit-chat.
And
We just want to be.
Kurt, you said the
because
boundary's
we're-
clear, it's surrounded by stone wall?
Because we're fact finders, we have to.
Property limits are clear, stone walls, right?
Yeah,
Up over a stone wall.
yeah. We'll do it.
So we need to
That was
continue,
one of the reasons we
Yep.
thought something other than stone walls.
So continue for 2 weeks,
2 weeks, continue.
both hearings.
Give everybody a chance to get out there.
Yep.
All right, we need a
So you're
motion.
requesting
So
2 weeks?
moved.
You're requesting 2 weeks. Motion and a second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, and that's unanimous.
What's the date on that?
The 26th,
25th?
6th.
All right.
Next order of business is 242127 Ray Street. There's no DP number. Is the applicant
Yeah,
here?
I'm not quite sure why this one can't seem to get a DEP file number, but
What are we on, Lou? 127 Vest?
That's way.
127 Vest, okay, I don't see a number. Yeah.
Thank you for your time.
All right,
Thank
thanks,
you.
Counsel.
Is this your bag?
thank you.
Are you for Vest? Okay,
Yes.
good.
Thank you. Excellent. It's just to see how much, you don't have to do those green cards, you know. Certificates of mailing. It says so right in the bylaw.
Okay?
Huh?
You okay?
Yeah, I got a headache. I don't have my high shoes.
Frustration, not neurological.
No, just frustration.
So, here we are. Mr. Swerker is before us.
All right.
Thank you, Mr. Sawaka, here to represent Joe
I
Marino,
apologize.
Joseph Sawaka. Haven't seen you people in about a dozen years, and you all look the same, so good for you, but it's good to see you.
You're the one that has no gray hair. I don't know about the rest of us.
That's because I have a 7-year-old son.
It's coming then, okay. Yes.
It's coming.
I have a 7-year-old grandson.
127 Vest Way is a house that was built on the side of a hill. Looks like they carved into the side of the hill and deposited it on the side to create a plateau to build a house. Septic system went in about 30 years ago. Right now it's failing, breaking out. So the homeowner is doing a voluntary upgrade. We did soil testing on the site, about 6 test pits, front and backyard, the only accessible areas. Front yard was ruled out as it did not even perk. We did find an area in the backyard that does perk and have designed a 4-bedroom septic system, which has been approved by the Board of Health. We had Bill Manuel go out and delineate the wetlands because they have somehow moved substantially from the original subdivision plans. So they are currently at the base of the fill slope that was created about 30 years ago. And as shown on the plan, we are 50 feet from the wetland area. We're tucking it into the base of that hill as much as we can. So the work is within the 50 and the 100-foot area. We'll be putting in a new Title V septic system.
Is it just grading in the 50, or is there some sort of structure or berm or, I mean,
We're essentially doing no substantial regrading. Everything is, there's so much fill out there. We're taking out all the fill. There's about 8 feet of fill in one of the test pits. That has to come out and be replaced by sand. and the system will essentially be within 6 inches or so of existing grades.
Right, but you didn't request a waiver of the 50-foot no-build zone, so the structure of the system itself is outside of the 50.
System is outside the 50 as required by Title V. The only thing inside the 50 is clean sand to replace the fill that we're taking out.
I don't know why my
So just-
photos didn't.
Let me restate that so I can understand it.
Sure.
Make sure I understood it. Your leaching chambers are all outside the 50, but that apron area and the membrane area will be within the 50.
Yes,
So that's-
plastic leaching chambers are all outside the 50 as required by Title V. We are replacing some unsuitable old fill material for about 8 feet of depth or 9 feet, bringing in clean Title V sand, and simply putting in a rubber underground barrier to control
Just a cutoff membrane.
grading.
I was looking for the photos. So my only problem with this site is there's a massive amount of junk in the wetland. It appears that whatever business the homeowner does has found its way into the wetland.
The homeowner has said he is not the person that has put that material in the wetland. He's not someone that would do that. It may have come from the original fill material that was brought in 30 years ago to fill
He's
the
got
house.
a ton of construction material on
He is the contractor.
site, and then what's in the
He is
in
the
the
contractor.
wetland is 100% construction material.
I'm relaying what he has told me. He has volunteered to clean it up. He understands the
How
requirements.
long's he been there, Joe? How long
20,
you-
at least 20 years.
Okay, good.
But he has volunteered to clean it up. He will do that as part of the work.
Excellent.
Now's the time to do it.
That sounds good.
Yep.
I was just trying to get those photos, because it is quite a, this is the site. That is, so that, that's just one.
Yeah, that'll be easy for him to clean up. It's all surface
It's
material,
all
right?
surface material
It's all
and
surface.
and work.
Yeah.
The slope is too steep to.
You can get
do
that out of there
anything
in a
else.
day or less.
You can get that out.
It's pretty extensive down the length of the slope. but-
What's that?
It's pretty extensive down the length of the slope. I just took pictures of the worst areas, but there's a lot of concrete, a lot of pilings.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
they'll clean it.
With all the fill material we're pulling out, that will go with it.
Okay. Joe, any questions?
You've already gotten Title V approval through the Board of Health?
We received Board of Health approval. I have to refile only because I added the erosion control line, which technically is a change, so we just have to file because we added that.
So I'm more,
But it's been
I'm just
approved.
more out of curiosity, I apologize because I know it's late, but this rubber membrane, you know, is it continuous sheet? Is it fused where it overlaps? I mean, how do we prevent leachate from moving past this membrane? Theoretically, you got a system that's up high, you're going to be charging the ground with mounded water that you're hopefully
Yeah, it's not-
forcing it down into the subsoil.
If I understand Title V correctly, it's not really designed to control the leachate, it's just designed to control your grading. Normally, you're required to grade 15 feet out before you go 3 to 1. Putting the membrane there allows you to start grading immediately after the 5 feet, which also keeps us further away from the wetland. It's more of a grading mechanism than a leachate mechanism.
Okay.
Title V says if you put a barrier
I
at
think
the
they're
5
same
foot,
thing.
you can start grading
They
right
want
away.
you to go further so it doesn't break out, but they want you to force it down through a membrane so they'll allow you to get closer. So it really is a leachate
Well, the
control.
it's nowadays, it's
I
5
guess
foot of
my
sand.
question ultimately is where this rubber membrane does go. I mean, is it fused? Is it a single sheet that goes all the way across?
It is a single sheet about 4 feet wide, 5 feet wide that they purchase. They may be 100 feet long, I believe, in rolls. And they'll simply put it at the edge of the sand and bury it.
And if the Board of Health is requiring it, we should be satisfied that that's enough protection when the system gets within the 50 feet.
This thing's gotta be 20 feet above the wetland, 50? It's.
We're a good 20 feet above the wetlands.
Yeah, if it breaks out,
But it's a new system, right?
Brand new,
That's being installed.
yes.
yeah,
It's
the
not
old.
likely to break out. I mean,
So
10
then 50
feet.
feet of a slope. The
12
problem
feet,
is on
12 12 feet above the
this
wetland.
particular lot is anything else is gonna require a serious cut in the side of a
Okay,
hill.
I'm all set. Like I said, it was more of a curiosity. It's a Title V item, but it's, it's within our jurisdiction.
Other than, I'm assuming you tested in the site of the old system and that wasn't suitable?
Because
isn't the old system
We only
farther
try to
away?
put a new system in the place of an old system as
If you
as
can't
a
put it
last
someplace
option.
else, right. So the
In
only,
this case, we have at least one option.
the only room in the backyard
No
is the
question.
location of the old system, where it is, or start taking down trees and cutting into the hill.
Gotcha.
I'm all set.
Doug?
No questions.
The only question I have is, do you want to condition the removal of the debris, or do you want to do a separate enforcement?
Oh, that can be, I think that could be a condition. That could be a
You
condition.
comfortable with that, Jen?
Do you want an EO, Jen? Do you want a pre-construction EO if you want that?
I think,
Just
I
ask.
will just write a violation letter noting the debris so that in case we have to, I mean, if he doesn't comply with the NOI, then, or the order of conditions, we'd have to issue an EO, but it makes it,
We can make it a pre-construction condition to the
yeah.
cleanup. and
Oh,
then
prior to.
Prior to the construction inspection.
That he would have to remove the debris. So you
Yeah.
might want to get started on that right away.
Yeah, but they're willing,
why I
they already
say
said
it.
they're
But
willing to
this
do it. so-
doesn't have a DEP file number and needs to continue anyway, so.
Actually, I'll tell you, I spoke to him yesterday, he said it's all gone already, so
Okay.
it may already be done.
So that's, see, yeah.
Seems like he,
He wants
He's
a,
not selling the house, he's staying there, so
he wants a septic system, so.
he needs a septic
All
system.
right, so we have to continue because of no
I mean, he
DEP,
wants it, yeah. he wants a septic
right?
system,
you didn't figure out
Not
why
hard
you
to
don't have a
figure out.
DEP number, right?
I spoke to Gary Bogue, the check we sent to DEP is
Missing.
missing. We
That
sent them another
happens.
one. They'll give us a number.
So
So we'll draft for
let
the
me just tell you
next
something
meeting.
about what's going on in Boston. The state ran out of money in May. This is a true story.
Well, the problem is everybody else got a file
It
number
affects
except
all,
for you,
it's
so.
affecting all departments. It's
No,
affecting
but
natural heritage and everything.
Everybody else got a file number.
They-
So it seems a little odd that he's the only guy who didn't
The
get a file
employees are
number.
not showing up for work because
Oh.
they're not getting paid. I'm just telling you.
All right, anyways, we need a motion to continue.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions.
You shouldn't need to come to the next one. We'll just close it and issue it.
Super.
So-
Thank you so much.
Thank
See you,
you.
Joe.
All right, enforcement orders. Zero Elmwood.
Are we,
Hay Meadow? Do we?
I think we still have,
Yep, no, we still have Hay Meadow to go.
we still have 255 Hay Meadow under the notice of intent.
Oh, I'm sorry.
1712, Louis. 2421712.
Oh, yeah, I'm way ahead.
This is the after-the-fact permitting of the long ago enforcement order issued retaining wall, driveway retaining wall.
Okay.
Oh, yeah,
Sorry
remember.
that these photos are not as nice as the other ones, because they somehow got all blended together.
All right,
I remember this.
I sort of remember.
We still have a quorum. I'm going to step out there.
Okay, Kim.
Okay.
Duly noted.
I have a couple issues with this plan, which I think, did you get my email?
No.
No, yesterday. The problem is, the delineation is incorrect. This is the delineation he had done as required by the enforcement order back in December, which shows the wetland at the base of the stone wall. Your plan uses the old line from 19 whatever. Yeah. So he was required by the commission to get a new delineation, but you, for whatever reason, and the other thing is I didn't get the plan electronically. When you said you sent it to me, what was included in the document plan was the, it was something, no, it wasn't the plan, it was something else that I received in the text. You know, you went someplace and scanned it over to me, but it wasn't the plan, is all I'm saying. So I don't have the plan electronically. But I emailed you that a couple days ago. The commission has copies, I think, because I printed it out.
Oh, okay.
Yes? No, because
I don't.
They don't because I didn't get it, so that was the.
Yeah,
that was-
we actually don't have any on it.
You can give it to them, yep, and so they're the ones who need to see it. As you recall, this is basically an as-built. Like I just said, the only issue is that it doesn't have the proper delineation on it, because now the wetland line is right at the base of this wall. And as you recall, we had him do that delineation and send it to us last December as part of an enforcement order.
So when it was
We
delineated?
had him, we required him to do it, which he never did.
No, he did it.
Were the flags up?
Yep.
If the flags are up, why didn't the
Well,
survey pick up the
I
flags?
don't know.
If the
That's why I
flags are-
emailed,
If the flags are in the field, the survey should have picked them up.
We picked up the flags.
You did?
that's not what, that was.
That's not, so the flags that were put in the field,
Yes.
I can just only tell you right now, it ties right into the flood zone elevation, it comes right in. It almost, it does touch the wall here.
Okay.
It ends
This is the
somewhere around there.
delineation report he had done in December, but, so.
This is the first time I've seen this.
Okay. He should have provided you with that.
So what, do we need
But I guess
revise?
that represents the same thing, what I just said,
Okay, so
from a survey standpoint.
I get it, but do we need a revised plan so the record's correct?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
that shows the wetland at the base of the wall.
Okay, so,
So need a motion, you think?
so,
There
well,
were like
let's,
7 or 8 flags.
so what we need you to do is revise the drawings.
Okay.
And get whatever information you need from Jen to
You
revise
can have
them.
that one. I have it electronically. I think I sent it to you, actually, in the email. I emailed it to you. Your email is,
So just,
yeah.
Jen, make sure I understand what, so we required him to
Delineate, he did.
delineate and to show that delineation on a plan. He did the delineation, you reviewed his delineation and didn't take exception to it?
Correct, it's right at the base of the wall.
Right, so it's accurate, so just a matter of showing this on the plan at this point.
Right. And then the only other problem I have, so here's, see, when you said, so this is your scan to me, it says scan conservation site plan, and here's what was in the scan. That's from you. Please find attached the site plan for 255 Hay Meadow, and that's what is there. So I never got the site plan, which I emailed you. I just noticed the site plan is not attached. That was on the 11th. And then I also sent you this delineation plan, which, so you have both of those now. The other issue is, this is a,
I was just going by this letter.
yeah,
Just wanted-
and I understand he hired you. He also hired, you required him to do the COC for this project, which he did submit, and is also on the agenda for this evening. But
Okay.
I wanted to point out that,
We need a line on the COC as well.
right, no, on the COC, we're comparing to the proposed project, so keeping the old line, he wouldn't be required to comply
Oh, gotcha.
with the old
Sorry,
project, with a new line. But I was concerned because Mr. Farmer's in PLS, and the order of conditions required a PE. That also brings me to the problem,
But also, no, we also allow an RPLS.
not in this particular order of conditions. You can read Cale's summary of what was required. So, but I mean, I think you have in the past allowed that. My concern about this project and what's in front of you now is, this is a 10-foot high retaining wall
Yeah.
made of boulders, which Cale says is not stable, that the boulders are falling out, they're in the wetland. She had concerns.
Does it?
Let's talk.
And I don't think this,
Let's speak to the PLS,
Yeah.
PE question first. So, on single-family lots, we have allowed, maybe an order of conditions states PE, but we have allowed PLS
RPLS.
to do both the
I think nowadays.
filings as well as certificates of compliance. On more complicated projects, with unique drainage requirements and structural components to it, and things that have to be analyzed and put into performance standards, we've held PE pretty regularly. And I think that's where the line is drawn. On a single-family lot, I think I wouldn't be having any issue with the land surveyor.
Except in this particular case, you have a 10-foot high retaining wall.
I was just gonna get there. So on the certificate of
That requires
compliance, the retaining wall itself, as 10 foot, by law requires.
Well, I don't know if
PE.
it did back in 1988, but the other aspect of, this was a wetland crossing to access this lot. This was a wetland crossing, so there's a bridge out there as well, if you recall. This is on
Yeah, but
255
that's
Hannah.
the entrance of the driveway.
Right, but he's doing the certification of the,
Always certifying it's built generally in accordance with the orders,
Correct.
conditions issued to it.
and that's what his letter states. You've
Substantial
done nothing
compliance.
wrong, right? I'm just saying,
Yeah,
these are the
substantial.
issues in front of us. This was a pretty, you denied this project 3 or 4 times before approving it under this order of conditions, so.
So as far as the structure of the
Huh? Yeah, it's all right.
crossing itself, that would have been required at the time of construction, that it's built at the correct elevations.
We're just, temperature, I was gonna say. I just wanted to make sure we weren't losing the quorum.
It's crazy on it.
Because it's,
I think after hours, it doesn't do anything.
because it's really hot in here.
Yeah,
it's
we
crazy.
can open a window.
That's gonna make things
We used
worse.
to be able to.
They don't open, I don't think, do they?
So again, we got 2 separate issues. The certificate of compliance isn't before us at
Yeah,
this
it
point.
is.
That's what the letter requested.
Separate, right now what's before us on the table for discussion is the
Well, we
NOI.
We gotta get a new plan anyway, so this we should continue. And then go to the, 'cause we need.
I just want to make sure on the retaining wall aspect, the permitting of this project, is there anything else you want to see or need him to do for the after-the-fact permitting of this retaining wall?
We never got to the point of discussing that when the applicant was before us in the fall.
Right.
I think it was the fall. It was a long time ago.
Can you feel that? Was it? Okay.
And, so what I don't know is this a violation that we won't allow to stay? Or is this in fact something that's age-old, just never got caught up in a plan anywhere, and we're now gonna allow it because it used to not be in the wetland, but now it is?
I think the wetland has changed. I think putting in the crossing expanded the wetland, without a doubt.
So that's the stuff we never got to
Survey
the point of being able
flags,
to discuss.
I don't know,
Right.
Somebody's flags.
I think
Somebody's
that's
registered.
probably the issue, is the old wetland line and the new wetland line. I don't think, I think the proposal, he did the work. There was a driveway there, there was a retaining wall there.
See, that's, I know you keep saying retaining wall, I just find, I don't see it as a retaining wall. There's a 2-to-1 slope, that's what was previously approved in '88.
It's a
To me, but whatever the commission wants to decide to call it, that's why we call it
No, I don't
erosion
think we
control.
arbitrarily
So
call
to me,
it.
it's not a retaining wall.
Right, a retaining wall is defined under the building code. And
Yeah,
if
but
it
this
is,
is an
if it's a
event-
fortified embankment,
It's there for the purposes of
two to-
constructing the driveway.
it's still not, it may not fall under the
I'm not
building
convinced
code, but it still may be an
that.
item that
It is
requires
existing.
engineering.
Yes, as I say, what's there is a revetment.
And,
What they would call a revetment. It's not on the ocean or anything like that.
right,
But it's still a revetment, and it requires you to take into consideration
Sure.
certain design standards.
right. And suggesting that Paige knows what she's looking at, if an environmental wetlands person can look at something and have some concern with its stability.
Well, if rocks are coming out, if there's evidence that it's failing,
But is there?
well, I don't know. All
Yeah.
I'm hearing is that rocks
Yeah.
are falling out. Somebody saw that.
Yeah.
So somebody ought to look at it that can understand that and determine whether it's stable, and a few rocks have come out, they can be put back in, no big deal.
So it needs to be looked at by someone else.
Somebody who's
Yeah, understands what rocks.
understands this type of construction ought to
Sure.
look at it, make a
Right.
determination.
I agree. I agree.
Because what we have is a disturbance up to the edge of the wetland, current wetland, and the thought is that we always want to minimize future disturbance of future filings. And if this continues to deteriorate because it wasn't built right or whatever, wasn't engineered right, whatever the circumstances, then we don't want to be able to have someone come back to us 2 years from now and say, look, I gotta rebuild my driveway yet again. Build it right the first time. So what are we looking to accomplish here? Are we looking to accomplish to permit what's there, period?
Correct.
And nothing more, not required to be re-engineered or anything?
I would agree with
I think it's just surveyed.
So
Absent-
what we have is good enough, is what you're saying?
Well, what-
If we get the new wetland line on the plan.
Give the line on.
What we're all saying to you is absent real articulable evidence of failure, we don't have anything.
Okay, it's after the fact approval. I just want to make sure when you give it approval that you're comfortable with what you're approving.
Well, we're not out at the scene looking at it. We're relying upon observations made by Cale.
Right.
Okay.
Is it
So,
Jacob's
so,
side?
so do we want someone other than Cale to go look at it and render an opinion? Cale is a wetland person.
Right.
Do we want somebody that knows something about rocks?
I don't know,
To look at it?
you've seen the
We have
one.
a professional engineer on staff who's done structural design work. I know he's been 30 years in the business, so I feel confident.
Why don't we have an
I'm not-
inspection?
I think there was repair work, but I shouldn't, maintenance of the driveway, and so bigger stones were put in probably to prevent what
Oh,
was going on
definitely,
over
it
time.
definitely was, because he extended the driveway and then he built up the wall so nobody would go off the cliff.
Would we be comfortable with an
I would be-
inspection?
But he did that on his own, sued the company because they wouldn't come back and fix it.
And then informed
then-
us that the company wouldn't come back and fix it, and we're like, well, you never permitted it to begin with. That's
Right.
how we got here.
So he got himself in a world of mud.
Yeah.
And then he was
Rocks.
very reluctant to deal with us. And he had a medical issue here. So there is history.
Yeah.
He was defiant.
That's why I said we didn't get an
He
opportunity
was
to have this
defiant to
discussion.
do anything.
But I think having your engineer look at it, I just don't want the commission to, after the fact, approve something and then have it fail and be
Would-
like, well, the commission approved it.
Would it be acceptable to have the engineer inspect it
Yep.
and then render a letter to
Right.
the commission memorializing
In the
the
meantime,
inspection?
you'll
Would
put
that
the
be?
new-
Fine.
All right.
We'll get the new wetland line on
Let's
the
do that
plan.
and move on.
All right, so we're gonna continue for 2 weeks. You're gonna put the right wetlands delineation on the plan and give us a
letter
letter
of
from your
inspection.
engineer saying that you
From our
inspected.
company.
Yeah, have you
And
a
then
guy-
the town, we'll invite the town.
You guys,
if
you
they
have
want.
a guy that has a stamp, that has had discipline, that knows something about structure. Okay, that's all we want.
That's all we need. Okay, motion to continue.
We don't want it inspected by a plumber. We want it, right?
So moved.
That guy would hire a
Second.
plumber.
Doug and me.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, and that's unanimous.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
And then on the COC, you're saying, back in the day, it may have just said engineer, but you're fine with the PLS stamp on
Yeah,
that?
let's-
For the-
I am, given the,
Okay.
are the essential items on there, you know, inverts and cross sections?
No,
The things that,
but they weren't on the original plan, so
Well, if you're looking for a plan to be prepared, whether the engineer
we
does
just
it or
said-
RLS does it is
All right, well, let's tell
immaterial.
this gentleman
Doug's
what
right
he
on.
wants.
Just tell him, let an RPLS prepare the plan and incorporate the data that he has. He's got wetland flags, he's got an engineer that's gonna look at the rocks.
I think if you look at what
Put the whole
Kale
thing-
wrote up, the as-built required elevations of all drainage ways constructed, as-built elevations of grades of all filled or altered wetland resource area, and distances to all structures, blah, blah, blah. It appears to be in substantial compliance with the order of conditions, i.e. things are where they were supposed to be. It appears that the replication area was completed, and all the as-built does not indicate elevations for the area. It appears to be as larger than was required. Everything basically at the toe of the slope now is now a wetland, so.
Okay.
And I think that was just for the driveway and the stream crossing. and the
Right.
Bridge.
probably, yeah,
Not
that's
for
what
the
we would have
house.
concerned
Which
ourselves.
didn't get into the drainage. So
Yeah, I don't think there's any drainage on the lot, it's just the crossing.
There's a catch basin on the plan we picked up.
At the driveway?
Driveway.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would be part of the subdivision, if they have that catch basin.
I think let's try to keep this as simple as possible.
Okay.
And close this thing.
Gotcha.
All
Okay,
right.
thank you. Just want to make sure we don't send them away before we have all the information.
No, I don't want you to send them away without info. I'd like you to communicate with Jen and just make sure you got the punch list right before you do it, but at the end of the day, just do it.
Okay.
So while this gentleman's here, do you want to take action and vote on the COC, is continue that as well?
No, continue that.
Continue that
Yeah.
as well. So I move that we continue the certificate of compliance request for 242-458.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's unanimous. Okay,
Okay.
all set, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, enforcement orders.
Katuitt
Do you want this
Street
big one
COC
back?
request, we also need to continue.
give me a-
Yes, please.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry, I didn't see.
What did we miss?
It's not,
What did we miss?
COC request for Katuitt Street, we're missing information, so.
it's not on there though.
Oh, wait, it is.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, it is. I'm sorry, it is. It's underneath the one we just did. Down here. She's all the way at the bottom, right there. 122, 124.
Where does it say requesting continue?
It doesn't. It just,
I wrote it in with the, it says it at the top, but we had written it up and then they requested to continue, so it just says it at the top.
you throwing a curveball at us, Jeff?
Yeah,
I know.
we have the wrong agenda.
So, and then at the very end, I also said recommend continuing to 7/26, because we have
Oh,
issues.
it's on the recommendation sheet.
Yeah,
And it's
she's
at the
getting
top.
revenge. She's getting revenge with us. For,
It's a last minute continuance.
All right. So we're all set. We have election of officers.
Did we continue, or did we not continue?
what do you want continued?
Yeah, almost-
1237?
Yeah.
Yes.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Opposed, and that's unanimous.
That's continued. 1237.
Need to vote the extension request?
What about, 242-1456, extension request, North Andover DPW.
Okay.
Right, we've skipped a whole page of things because we did the 255 Hay Meadow OOC.
Oh, okay, that's why.
So there's a whole nother page in your
Yeah,
recommendation.
we have the enforcement order.
0 Elmwood
violations.
Street, right. So just to give you the update on 0 Elmwood Street, I have some nice photos. They've taken out the junk, they've loamed and seeded. When the grass grows in, we'll release the enforcement order.
So they're all set. They've
Yes,
done,
You required them by July 15th, and I'm telling you it's done.
and they did everything we asked.
But
Nice.
we're not going to release it until the grass grows.
Okay. I like to hear that.
1116 Great Pond Road, I recommend you vote to issue the release on the enforcement order. As you requested, I went back out there. The plants that were dead have been replaced. The plants that were not thriving have been cut back, pruned, and are now thriving, and the area looks good. He is, as you requested, committed to ongoing monitoring of the area.
He was here last week.
He was here
said,
this
yeah.
morning, today.
Yeah, he
But he
came
was
today, and I
also
told
at the
him to-
last meeting, and he told us exactly that,
I
so.
know, I
yeah.
watched it on TV.
Yeah.
So,
Good man. All right.
So I recommend you vote to release the enforcement
So
orders.
moved.
When you
Second.
When you sit in
Deb
the
got it.
hospital, that's what you get to watch.
Go easy now.
Okay, let's get a vote here, let's keep going.
810 Salem Street, I recommend continuing to August 23rd.
Motion made and second, we didn't vote it.
What?
All in favor?
All those in
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Okay, now let's,
Sorry.
Unanimous.
I also.
810 Salem Street, they've requested to continue to August 23rd. They're traveling, unable to attend until then.
Second.
All those in
All
favor?
those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's unanimous.
Done deal. Well done.
All right.
Now we can go, now can we go to the extension request for the
Yep.
general permit?
This is their first extension. They've been continued under the Permanent Extension Act for like 7 years.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, and that's unanimous. We've already done Hay Meadow, and Katuitt Street is canceled.
Election of officers.
Pardon me?
Election of officers.
Election of officers. What do we got?
Well, I'm going to nominate you to remain as chairman of the NACC.
Yeah?
I'm nominating you.
Okay.
I
You
second
can-
that nomination.
I third it.
All right,
all in
and-
favor? Aye.
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 All right.
And,
Aye, aye, aye,
and
aye,
I'd like
aye.
to continue to keep Al as my vice chair. If that's okay?
Thank you. I'll
Yeah,
take.
so moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 All
Here we
right.
are.
We're done.
The dream team.
Thing in, Dawn.
Got to remember,
Boy,
Al's
easy now,
Al's
easy.
got a couple of 20-minute meetings under his belt.
Well,
I know.
This
I
was
told you, I was
one
in the
of the
hospital
meetings.
watching nothing, so that's what I
I was
watched.
just going to say, you got us saying hi to you on the camera then, right?
Yeah. All right, and now, decisions. Katuah Street, we're not doing. What else you got, Jen?
There are,
Decisions, we are doing.
I know, we're not doing Katuah Street.
203 Katuitt's, from last meeting, you closed it, it needs to issue. That was the pool.
Yeah.
okay, so which,
Okay,
that's 1,700. We have 1,700.
You
We
have
have it. Yep, we
1,700.
have it.
and, the Zarico property, we continue. Oh, no, we closed.
No, we closed
Close
it.
that one too.
So, and the last one is the extension for the public.
So probably the, we did grant a waiver on 1,700,
On the sites.
which is the pool. It requires the crushed stone, non-backwashing filter. I did note, in approving this, we approved this project, but the restoration proposed is off-site. Their 10-foot no-disturb buffer zone is actually off-site.
Okay,
Meaning on somebody else's land?
okay. Restore it.
Require them to do 10 feet onto their own property?
You can't tell somebody to do something on somebody else's property.
Right. So I did send an email to that effect, but I haven't heard, so I guess we could change it to condition it that the restoration area be 10 feet onto the property owner.
To the property.
Okay, yeah, just amend it that way.
Okay, so,
Because if we don't do that, that bond, whatever you posted, is not gonna be enough after he gets
Right.
sued.
Nah.
Might, you know,
he has
no.
the space to do it too.
All right, any questions on,
I move that we issue DEP 2421700 as amended.
Second.
all those in favor say aye?
Aye.
Opposed, and that's unanimous.
2421706.
DPW.
The only interesting thing about this one is that,
Is this the one for French Farm Loop?
yes,
Yeah.
Okay.
and I made notes on it because we're gonna require the frac tank, so I made that note. I just think there's a bunch of our standard conditions that don't belong in this order. The DPW is gonna do this work, I don't know that they're going out to bid because
No, I would
this is
say
repair
No,
work.
there's no
They're
way,
gonna
no,
bid it?
no way
They're
they,
gonna bid this, you know.
this is
Okay,
going
so
out.
we'll
There's
keep the
no
bonds.
way they do
I
this.
put it in as 2,500, but you can, whatever,
I would waive the bond. No?
well, that's what I was saying, but you just said no.
This is gonna be a subcontract.
Oh, subcontract.
This is gonna be a subcontract. Town's not doing this.
Right. Then it's not enough.
It's not
Okay,
enough.
well, that's what I didn't
More,
really alter it.
more like 25,000.
Well, I don't think it needs to be that high either.
You see the scope of work that's being done?
20-foot dig?
That
It's
potential?
only, it's,
They're going down 15 feet.
Originally, I read 20.
that's
I
in the
don't think this
roadway.
bill, no.
That's the roadway. There's
That's
two
the
different
road-
projects.
No, in the swale, I heard them say they're going down
15 feet.
15 feet in
12
that
to
swale.
15.
Well, the one down the roadway is the most critical part because they're
It's
gonna...
not in our jurisdiction.
Yeah, but the water that's gonna come out of that hole is gonna go right in that wetlands in between houses.
Then it becomes
Then
jurisdiction.
it would, if they do something that causes it to be jurisdictional, that'll be
We
an
gotta
enforcement
wait
order,
for them
but
to rob
it
the bank.
currently-
We
One
can't.
thing, if this is a town project, the
Yeah.
town is paying for
Town's paying for it, yep. But the
Okay.
town's paying a subcontractor.
it. No, that doesn't matter. They're paying a contract. Contractor, he sees that I have to come up with $25,000 extra.
Yeah.
The town is paying for that.
We do this all the time. They have no
We don't
problem.
We do it all the time.
We don't
The
bond
town
it
is
that
gonna
high,
pay
though.
for that.
We haven't bonded anything
Well, Whatever the
on
bond amount is,
road work that high.
that's gonna be included in the bid. It's in the bid price.
It's money
The
they
town's
get,
gonna end up paying that price.
it's money they get back. It's money they get
Not
back. It's not,
Cost to carry, he's absolutely right.
it's money they get back.
Not necessarily.
No.
If it's a bond, they get, the performance bond
So
goes
if
back.
if it's part of a bigger project,
may
they
get
put
it
up
back,
25 grand cash up front, and you sit on it for a year before you get a certificate of compliance, and the guy gets, before they get substantial completion. Contractor doesn't get his 25,000 back until we release it. If that's a year, we just paid $1,500 for that $25,000 of holding his money. The town is paying
So just let me
$1,500.
take you, at the risk of staying here an extra 5 minutes, the project that was on 125 by the high school,
That's exactly where my mind
that the
went.
contractor put up no bond because it was a town project, and the contractor walked away from it. And the town had to eat that project. So, take your
Before me?
pick, choose your
I don't know
poison.
what we're talking about.
There was a,
The town's gonna eat it anyway.
It was a force, it was a
no,
sewer line relocation.
it was a sewer line
relay.
relocation at a bridge culvert.
And
for
I
Boston.
took the design engineer to task that night, and I said, what about, how are you gonna get through that
Right.
bridge abutment,
That's
those
exactly
bridge
right.
footings?
That's exactly
Not
right.
only did they not put the bond up, we got hit with a $60,000 change order.
Yeah.
Because they had to deal with the bridge that I told them was there.
That was a town project with a subcontractor who walked away. The subcontractor just walked away because he had no
And it had a
dog in the
mess.
fight.
It was a mess.
He created an absolute shit show, and he had nothing to anchor him down. So take your pick. You know, I think you make the contractor put up something so that you have some recourse. There's no recourse.
I would say no more than 10, though. I don't see this as, I mean, compared to what we've bonded other things.
So they're not gonna be having multiple sites open at once. They're gonna do one point repair, stabilize it, move on to a
Right.
second point repair. So I think you're breaking it to pieces. I think your worst exposure is 10,000 at a time.
Right. And the other
And
part
that's if
isn't,
something
we
went
can't
badly
bond the
wrong.
other part, it's not in jurisdiction.
Okay, fine.
That's
100%
that's
out
the
of
most critical part.
I mean, make it 2,500. I don't care. I'm just saying, nobody.
So how we handle the
I've
other
seen-
part,
We've
what's
seen
most
it.
critical,
We've seen
is
it go
that
bad.
no discharge of dewatered, silty dewatering discharge shall exist within the 100-foot buffer zone. That way, if they're up in the street and they discharge it, if they're staying outside the 100, we're okay with that. If they get into the 100, they're in violation of that part of it, even though the work is outside of the jurisdiction, the impact we're anticipating makes it jurisdictional.
It's gonna be there.
We don't want them, we have to be careful, this is watershed too, so we don't want them to, if they're using a frac tank, we don't want them taking that water outside of the watershed. So they're gonna discharge somewhere on French Farm Road.
So are they gonna have to create
It's gonna
an
end-
area
it's
for
gonna
a
end up-
spreader?
It's gonna get to a wetland somewhere.
Well, I mean, that's ultimately what always happens. And we could have them create a spreader.
I'm not concerned, we're requiring them to use the frac tank, that's fine.
That's
But-
gonna take all the suspended solids out.
Right, but I don't think,
So after the suspended solids are out, do we care where the
but
water
should we
goes?
say no discharge to the 100-foot buffer zone, or just require the frac tank and just say discharge shall be outside of the 100-foot buffer zone, recognizing that the clean water is eventually gonna make it back to a wetland, or just make sure we don't permit this so they can't do the project.
Well, hold on, what's the purpose of the frac tank? To clean the water, right?
Right.
Yeah,
So,
that's a discharge of dewatered material, I see what you're saying. So by requiring the frac tank allows it to happen within the 100-foot area, but it doesn't address, how about just all
All dewatering.
dewatering shall be to a frac tank?
Okay, that's what I'm saying.
To the
And then we
entire
can get rid
project.
of the no dewatering to the
Yeah.
100-foot.
that's a good one. I like it.
Okay. So bond amount, are we good with the 10K?
Whatever you want.
Okay. We're not doing wetland marking. I highlighted it because I'm gonna delete it.
Jen, when you go up from Ray's Pond Trail and,
It's at the
is it the
very
Scout
end.
Trail that comes in? Isn't there another trail that goes up to French Farm?
It's just beyond that trail, the last.
So this is not within the work area, or is it?
It's just beyond that is the work area.
So there's no restoration of trail network or anything?
Only
that-
so much that they take the equipment over it.
Okay. I'm just wondering, do we want to have some sort of restoration standard for the trail, that we don't just have this muddy mess?
They propose that in, it's a very, I know you said you weren't here, but it's a pretty
I've been on the
extensive,
trail, that's why I asked the question.
it's a very extensive,
NOI?
yep.
Epsilon did it, right?
A mini frac tank could be deployed within an upland area. They proposed it, they didn't say, we're requiring it, but they proposed it. Access to the work zone will be obtained via the existing easement from the Ray Pond pump station. As noted above, the easement is generally free of vegetation. Passes over the wetland, comprise. So I think it's in here that they will, loam and seed and restore.
My recollection is if you're walking up towards French Farm, the soar, you're on the trail, the soar is in the low area to the right. So short of coming down the trail for access alone, they're not going to be doing any work in there. Yeah, that's what I remember.
The last sewer manhole is in the woods. That's basically it. Everything else is along that path.
Mm-hmm. So I guess, should we be concerned with what is an established trail? How do they leave it at the end of the project?
So, the issue here is, it's a sewer easement first. So when we built the trail, we requested DPW to allow us to have a trail on the sewer easement. So I don't want to get into,
Okay.
they will restore it, they've said they'll restore it. When they
Leave it at
did
that.
the project for the manholes, they restored it. I don't anticipate that they're going to do anything to.
Any other questions on the North Andover project?
I think I'm getting rid of no underground storage of fuel oils. That shouldn't be in there. Fertilizers, this is conservation property. These are not conditions that belong. I think that's it.
Need a motion?
Move that we adopt 242-1706 as amended.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, and that's unanimous. Last but not least, 242-1709.
Oh, there it is. Sorry.
Here it is.
I guess that, outside of this being fairly standard, do you want to require anything about the driveway? Or are you just leaving that up to him?
It's not our problem.
Okay. That's it then.
We can't require something that's not our problem.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
I kept going back to the original filing, but if that original, he eventually pointed it out, and I didn't even see it on my own, that triangle easement being laid out from the get-go means the original subdivision could not have ever possibly
Right, was
expected
proposing
to
a
use that
driveway
driveway.
there.
It was always proposing a driveway there.
Okay, any questions? Not, a motion?
Motion that we adopt, motion to adjourn, 242-1709 as drafted.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, and that's unanimous. And last but not least, motion to adjourn.
So moved. Everybody moved it.
Everybody moves it. Who
Everybody
seconded
moved
it?
Everybody.
Al, we'll take it as Al.
All right.
He's-
Put any name
All
down.
those
anyone.
in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?